Chapter 2929. Heller was no longer a federal colonel. His merits were all taken back. He was now an ordinary person and handed over to the Empire to deal with. The people around Heller were also recalled by the Federation. Heller was imprisoned alone. Of course, Ning Shu was with him. The halo around Heller's body was taken away, and he looked a lot dimmer. He didn't have the domineering aura that could control the sky, earth, and air. He looked at Ning Shu with a bone-deep hatred. He didn't expect that he would throw away his future. He was a young colonel with a bright future ahead of him. In the end, he died in the hands of these two brothers. This hatred was unforgivable. Ning Shu pretended to be afraid. If you didn't want to capture me, things wouldn't have developed to this point. It seemed that it was better to take away everything from him and make him suffer than to kill him secretly. Because it was a federal colonel, they found a random reason to capture him. The feeling of suffering an unexpected calamity must be great. Now that the Federation was in a sensitive situation, it was necessary to abandon Heller. To the Federation, Heller was just a colonel. Of course, to ordinary people, the federal colonel was an unshakable existence. It was also at this sensitive time. Otherwise, the Empire wouldn't have made such a decision when they weighed an ordinary person against a federal colonel. The Empire was still angry about being cheated by the Federation. When Ning Shu was released, Heller stared at Ning Shu. His eyes were like hooks, wanting nothing more than to hook onto Ning Shu's flesh. Ning Shu asked worriedly, "Will anything happen to me? Because of me, that federal colonel has no future. He will definitely be angry and want to kill me. I don't know how my brother is now. If I die, I won't be able to wait for him. Don't worry, we will pay attention to him. You have to be careful too." Ning Shu nodded. After returning home, she moved to another place. Of course, everything she did was under the Empire's nose. It was very real. She was so scared that she wanted to move. Ning Shu felt that it was better for Heller to be released. Since he was abandoned by the Federation, even if she killed him, the Federation wouldn't pursue the matter. Forget about pursuing the matter, she had to wash her hands clean. We have nothing to do with this guy. Ning Shu was more depressed about Tobias and Lance. It had been almost 2 fucking months, so why was there still no news from them? Tell me if you're dead or alive. The citizens were all looking forward to it. Now that someone was robbing something, why hadn't the Imperial Eagle appeared yet? Ning Shu waited and waited. In the end, the dynasty released the explosive news that they had discovered a new star system and had already occupied it. My subjects, our territory has expanded again. Rejoice. Everyone was dumbfounded, including the Federation. The Lok Empire had secretly discovered a new star system and occupied it. Those who had risked their lives to snatch some things from the Lok Empire while General Tobias was on the brink of death were happy to get a piece of meat, but in the end, they found a pig instead. At this point, the Empire was no longer bothering to hide the truth. Instead, it directly stated that General Tobias had taken over these planets. Everyone applauded. Tobias? Wasn't he on the verge of death? It seemed that the Lok Empire was the one behind all this. They had escaped to occupy a star system, and who knew how many planets there were in a star system? Who knew how many resources and rare metals a planet had? It was going to explode. The Federation immediately questioned the Empire. The Empire directly said that they were doing this for the sake of humanity. They didn't know if there were any living creatures living in those star systems. If there was any danger, everyone would rush in together. Thus, the Lok Empire took the lead and took the risk. Now that the resistance of those planets had been suppressed, they could migrate to those planets if they wanted, but they had to have proof of identity from the Lok Empire. In short, those places were ours. It was so infuriating that everyone's eyes turned red with jealousy. At this time, the other empires were unprecedentedly united under the leadership of the Federation to cause trouble for the Lok Empire. The Lok Empire said, all right, don't be angry. Everyone has a share. Of course, the planets with rich resources had already been taken by the Lok Empire. The ones left behind weren't that good, but they still had some meat. However, the citizens weren't satisfied. Why should they give it to them? They had painstakingly conquered a star system, And they still had to share it with these people? These people were taking ready-made food. How could they be so thick-skinned? No matter what, the Locke Empire couldn't take over this star system. If they ate the meat and others didn't even get to drink the soup, they would definitely overturn the pot. It didn't matter if they gave up a little. Besides, the good things were already taken by the Empire. Let them fight for those small pieces of meat. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. It seemed that all her previous guesses were wrong. The couple had gone to war. It was good that they were fine. She didn't know if Lance had made any contributions. Would she, as his brother, be able to bask in the glory? However, could an EJ be used on the battlefield? Were their pheromones not affected? Battlefield A was too much. Although B wasn't affected, A was affected. She didn't know how to deal with it. She was waiting for their triumphant return. They didn't send her a message. They were probably afraid that the news would leak and be intercepted. Ning Shu now had an appetite. Her brother was fine, and Heller had suffered a big loss. Therefore, her peerless martial arts were still useful. When it was time for dinner, Ning Shu went to the cafeteria to eat. The food on the spaceship was very delicious, so it would be a waste not to try it. When Ning Shu picked up the fork, he hesitated for a moment. Previously, he had been robbed when he was eating, and the fork had almost pierced his throat. Ning Shu wasn't sure if there were any galactic pirates blocking the way to the Nova star system. After all, many people were heading there. Ning Shu picked up the fork and put it down. In the end, he could not resist the temptation of the steak and bit into the meat. The spaceship shook again. Ning Shu was speechless. This time, he did not know if it was a real galactic pirate or a fake one. Ning Shu put down the fork, but the spaceship was still shaking violently. Warning, warning, the spaceship is surrounded. Warning, warning, the spaceship is being hit by an external force. Please take protective measures. Chi-chi. An ear-piercing electric current sounded in the spaceship. Soon, a man's face appeared on the screen. The man's expression was sinister, and a mischievous smile appeared on his face. Congratulations on being chosen by me. Now, hand over the things from before. The EJ took the initiative to step forward. Was the EJ something valuable? Why did galactic pirates have to snatch the EJ apart from money? It felt like the EJ was not a person but something valuable. Regardless of whether it was A or B, they could clap for love with O. If these people really got their hands on an O, they would definitely sell it for a good price. As soon as the galactic pirate spoke, everyone on the spaceship fell into fear and anger. Ning Shu returned to his room and took his box. Why did he always get robbed? The Federation was also awesome. They suppressed the Empire for no reason, but they did not care about these galactic pirates. Of course, the interstellar space was too vast, and the galactic pirates were not easy to deal with. The spaceship clanged from the collisions. They had no choice but to open the hatch to let the pirates in. Everyone was chased together by the violent galactic pirates, and the other galactic pirates began to search the spaceship for valuable items. Hardy and his group were probably the most gentle galactic pirates. These people were the real robbers, fierce and cruel. The passengers on the spaceship could only bear with it silently. Of course, there were some people with some strength, but after considering the other party's combat power, they chose to swallow their anger and pay to avoid disaster. The worst outcome was that these people not only stole money but also killed people. Their minds treated killing as entertainment, or they were afraid that the passengers would report them. Ning Shu did not intend to tolerate it this time. Looking at these galactic pirates, he released his strongest spiritual power and attacked the spiritual balls in their minds. The spiritual balls would backfire, and the pain caused by the backlash made these people cry out in pain. They held their heads and screamed. What's going on? The commotion soon attracted more space pirates. However, they were soon attacked by Ning Shu's spiritual power, and they held their heads in pain. That feeling was like being hit by a hammer. It was extremely painful. Ning Shu hugged his head and squatted in a corner. He was like an ordinary passenger, inconspicuous. The galactic pirate leader's face was cold and filled with killing intent. Impressive, you dare to resist. Seems like you don't remember how powerful the good guy galactic pirate gang is. Ning Shu was speechless. Good guy. He was sure it was not a taunt. Everyone's face turned pale. Who the hell attacked? It seemed like they were going to die here today. Facing the ferocious galactic pirates, ordinary people could not do anything. They just did what they were told and hoped that they could survive after taking the money. Only death awaited them if they angered these people. One of the passengers was covered in a mecha and pounced towards the galactic pirate leader. Obviously, he wanted to fight to the death. The galactic pirate leader's lips curled up coldly. With this level of skill, he wanted to resist? One move would be enough to kill him. His body would be torn into two. The galactic pirate leader raised his hand. It was covered in a mecha and had a gun. Ning Shu immediately released his spiritual power and gathered it to attack the galactic pirate leader. The galactic pirate leader groaned and staggered. He was knocked into the wall by his opponent and fell to the ground. Who attacked me? Before he could finish his sentence, another strong spiritual power attacked his mind, causing his face to contort in pain. Chapter 2931. The man seized the opportunity and revealed his mecha's blade. The blade slashed at the pirate's mecha, creating sparks. The pirate struggled to resist. It was too painful. His head felt like it was exploding, and his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. The surrounding people were extremely nervous. Seeing the two of them face off, some of the stronger ones began to deal with the other pirates. The spaceship was in a mess. Ning Shu also revealed his mecha and stabbed the pirate's body with the blade from his back. He quickly pulled it out and cut off the pirate's neck. Even if the interstellar medical technology was advanced, there was no hope for brain death if the body and head were separated for too long. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Ning Shu quickly dodged to prevent himself from being stained with blood. The pirate's dead. The pirate's dead. Everyone cheered. There was a new ray of hope in the face of certain death. The passengers on the spaceship were filled with fighting spirit. Because the pirate's leader was dead, they all fled back to the battleship and used the battleship to ram into the spaceship. The spaceship quickly started to move, and in the end, they escaped from the pirates. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally escaped. He managed to protect his suitcase, which contained all his belongings. Thank you. The man who attacked the pirate first thanked Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled and said, "It's fine. Everyone was just trying to survive." After experiencing this crisis, the people on the spaceship suddenly became closer. There was nothing better than going through life and death together. In order to celebrate, everyone took out the things they had brought. There were fruits and wine. Ning Shu ate his steak with Duke sitting opposite him. He asked Ning Shu which part of the new star system was going and if they could go together. Ning Shu said that he was going to look for someone and that there was no need to go with him. Duke was a little disappointed. He left his contact information and said that they could meet up and have some fun when they were free. Ning Shu nodded. The spaceship flew for almost a month and finally reached the new star system. Ning Shu separated from Duke and went to look for Lance. After asking about the planet where the Locke Empire was stationed, Ning Shu went to look for Lance. This planet was almost undeveloped. There were primitive forests everywhere. Ning Shu searched for a long time before he found Lance. The military was stationed in the wilderness. The advancement of technology allowed the soldiers to live well and comfortably even in the wilderness. Ning Shu was only allowed to enter after he told Lance where he was from. Lance was surprised to see Ning Shu and asked, "Why are you here?" "I was worried about you, so I wanted to visit you personally." Ning Shu's smile was especially gratified, her eyes crinkling. Lance set up a tent and sat, and asked, "How long are you going to stay?" "Actually, I'm here to visit the new star system. Are there any unique planets?" Ning Shu asked. "There are deserts where there are no living creatures, and they are not suitable for human habitation. There are also planets that are filled with water. Some planets have people, but their technology is very backward. In short, there are all kinds of planets." "A planet full of water?" "Water is the source of life. If there's water, how can there be no life? Brother, I want to go to a planet full of water. What do you want to see? Water, of course. There might be some treasures there. When General Tobias returned and saw Ning Shu, he nodded slightly. Ning Shu immediately greeted, "Greetings, General Tobias. You two should talk more." General Tobias didn't disturb the two. Ning Shu asked curiously, "What's the relationship between the two of you now?" We're working partners. I can follow him and realize my value," Lance said calmly. "Then you two don't have any other relationship? Didn't you two already mark each other?" "Oh, that can only be considered a contractual relationship. We're working together now, so that relationship isn't important. He marked me and I'm loyal to him. He trusts me," Lance said. Ning Shu nodded. "Do as you see fit." "Then how did you get the pheromone on your body?" The pheromone would make it very inconvenient for Lance to be in the military. There were many A's in the military. There are inhibitors. Aren't inhibitors only able to suppress estrus? Ning Shu was a little puzzled. Could it be that she bought a fake inhibitor? "Big brother, there's a new type of inhibitor that can even control pheromones. It's something the Research Institute came up with out of boredom," Lance said. "Ning Shu, this thing must be very expensive." Under Lance's arrangement, someone took Ning Shu to a planet full of water. It seemed that Lance's position in the military wasn't low. However, the soldiers who took Ning Shu to the planet all had ugly expressions on their faces. It seemed that Lance didn't have much authority in the military. Others definitely thought that he had hooked up with General Tobias, and not many people in the military were willing to obey him. In particular, there was an O, who was like a toy that was bossing them around. Hence, these soldiers' attitude toward Ning Shu was also quite contemptuous. Ning Shu didn't care what these people thought. When he arrived at the planet, he discovered that it wasn't water that was on this planet. Instead, it was heavy water. This kind of water couldn't give birth to any life. With so much water, Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to put it away. It was useless. Even a goose feather would sink if it fell on this kind of water. No matter how light something was, it would sink to the bottom. Ning Shu reached out to scoop some water, but he couldn't scoop it up at all. This kind of water was very precious. After all, it was very rare. However, it was also very useless. However, Ning Shu felt that the mark between his eyebrows was a little hot. His hand was actually starting to absorb the heavy water. Moreover, Ning Shu could hear a tinkling sound coming from the mark between his eyebrows. It was as if a stream was flowing through it. Was this the mark of the water law absorbing the heavy water? Since it was absorbing, then so be it. Normally, the mark of the water law wouldn't absorb anything, unlike the mark of the wood law, which needed to be replenished at all times. He didn't know if there would be any side effects after absorbing the heavy water. Ning Shu was a little shocked. Was he going to absorb all the water on this planet? Oh my God, how much is this? Would the mark of the water law work? Perhaps it would stop absorbing after a while. "Hey, you've seen it. Are you going or not?" The soldier was a little impatient. Ning Shu said, "You guys go first. I want to stay here for a while. Please tell Lance." How troublesome. The soldiers boarded the battleship and left. On the entire planet, only Ning Shu was absorbing the heavy water. Moreover, the absorption speed was getting faster and faster. The sea level was dropping at a speed visible to the naked eye. This thirsty look made him look like a starving child. The sound of the water in the mark between his eyebrows was loud and soft. It was also very hot. Chapter 29:32. Not long after, the side effects began to appear. Ning Shu's head was extremely heavy. His neck was almost unable to support his head anymore, and Ning Shu had no choice but to support his head with his hands. Did he have to support his head with both hands while walking? His head was so heavy that he would probably fall over if he walked past. However, he still hadn't stopped absorbing the heavy water. There was so much heavy water on an entire planet, and he was about to absorb it all. How could a fingernail-sized water droplet imprint contain so much water? Ning Shu supported his head with both hands. It was so heavy. After absorbing for a long time, he finally absorbed all the water on the entire planet, revealing an empty landscape. Even though it was still empty, there were no signs of life at all. There wasn't even a single shrimp. It was completely clean. Lance came to find Ning Shu on his battleship, and his eyes immediately widened in shock when he saw that there was no water on the entire planet. "Where's the water?" Ning Shu replied with a serious expression. "You might not believe it, but I saw the water instantly evaporate." "Lance, use battleship scan," Ning Shu said to the battleship's AI. "Scanning in progress. Please wait for a moment. The scan results indicate that there are rare metals under the mud. Stand here and don't move. I'm going back to find some people." Lance immediately returned to the army upon hearing that there were rare metals. Ning Shu pursed his lips. "I thought you were going to buy me some oranges." As long as it was about mineral deposits, everyone was as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Lance was the one who had discovered this mineral, so the more credit he received, the better. Ning Shu wasn't interested in these rare metals. There was no point in bringing them back as he couldn't use them. If the technology of this plane continued to develop like this, perhaps it would develop to the point where it could travel through planes one day. When that time came, there might even be planar wars. Soon, General Tobias arrived. He quickly stationed the army here and marked this place as part of the Empire's territory. "Where's the water here?" Tobias asked with furrowed brows. The water here was different from normal water. It was supposed to be used for research, so why did it disappear after entering the water? Ning Shu immediately replied, "It really evaporated very quickly. I don't even know what happened. You didn't see the scene at the time. It was truly spectacular." "Who else was here at the time?" Tobias asked. Several soldiers who had sent Ning Shu here stood up. "Sir, we received Lance's order to send him here, and then we came back." "So, you left them here and went back by yourselves?" The important thing was that they didn't see how the water disappeared. A few soldiers lowered their heads. They were already unhappy that Lance ordered them to work. She was just the general's personal slave, and she was acting like a tyrant over their heads. Lance was expressionless. He narrowed his eyes and glanced at these soldiers. It was not that he wanted to take revenge in the future, but the soldiers represented the dissatisfaction of many people with him. Just because he was Egypt, the Federation always bragged about how everyone was equal, but where did that come from? There was no more water, but there were metal ores, which made up for some of the losses. Other than Lance's brother, no one saw how the water disappeared. This was too illogical. Of course, no one doubted Ning Shu. After all, he was only so big. If he jumped in, he wouldn't even make a splash before sinking to the bottom. Ning Shu held his head and heaved a sigh of relief. "Brother, are you not feeling well?" Lance saw that his brother was holding his head. "My head hurts." Lance returned with Ning Shu. Tobias had to stay here to take care of some matters. There had to be someone stationed on this planet, which meant that this planet had an owner. For a few days in a row, Ning Shu's head was very heavy. Her head was heavy and her feet were light. She kept tripping when she walked. Moreover, when she walked, the water in her head would sway left and right. It was really troublesome. Was this going to happen to him forever? If he had known, he wouldn't have inhaled so much. "Do you want to have your body checked?" Lance asked. He was walking unsteadily as if he were drunk. "I'm fine, I'll be fine after a while." Ning Shu hurriedly waved his hand. He didn't want to have a checkup. What if something really happened? Ning Shu felt his head become even heavier when he thought about how all the water on this planet was in his head. It was amazing that his watermelon-sized head could hold so much water. No, to be precise, such a small mark could hold so much water. Ning Shu felt that he had to get used to this feeling. He readjusted his body's center of gravity so that he wouldn't fall. When he regained his balance, Ning Shu's expression didn't change even though his head was still filled with the sound of water. Ning Shu prepared to explore other planets, such as planets that were full of yellow sand. However, he didn't find anything good. He had already explored most of the new galaxy. For example, he didn't find the Fire Master in the volcano. There were some rare metals, but Ning Shu didn't care about them. Even if it was a world's origin energy, it was still good. Why did these planes have so little world origin energy? Since there was so little world origin energy in these planes, why was the organization able to accumulate so much world origin energy? Could it be that extra world origin energy was born in the planes, and the organization kept it? Otherwise, Ning Shu couldn't figure out why there was so little world origin energy. It felt like picking peaches. When the peaches were ripe, they would be picked. In the end, she would wander around the peach tree and return in disappointment. If that was really the case, Ning Shu felt that he could give up looking for world origin energy in every world and look for other treasures instead. This time, he obtained the fire beads, found a way to refine his spiritual power, and gained a brain full of heavy water. Attention host, the mission has been completed. You will be leaving the world in 10 minutes. Please be prepared to leave. The system's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. It seemed that the idea of traveling around the galaxy wouldn't work. It was too time-consuming. The client wanted to come back. Ning Shu lay in the tent and waited for the transmission to return to the system space. After a moment of weightlessness, Ning Shu didn't open his eyes. He felt as if he had entered a fire cage. It was extremely hot. Ning Shu was about to melt. There were more than 10 fiery red beads in a transparent glass bottle on the coffee table. The heat radiating from these beads distorted the system space. What kind of bottle was this? It could withstand such a high temperature. The backup system said, because the temperature of the beads is too high, the system's space can't store them. I bought this bottle from the exchange store. Ning Shu nodded, indicating that he understood. Such a hot thing couldn't be placed in the system space. Otherwise, his soul would feel uncomfortable. Ning Shu reached out to take the bottle away. As a result, his hand became transparent from the heat. What should he do? The temperature was so high. Ning Shu used his spiritual power to move the bottle to the corner. The spiritual ball was red from the heat. Ning Shu took the opportunity to refine the spiritual ball and then sat on the sofa. The sofa was near the coffee table. He felt that this place was especially hot. Chapter 29:33. Ning Shu had no choice but to sit further away from the coffee table. She sat on the ground and began to absorb the soul power. As expected, it was not much. After absorbing for a while, the soul power was gone. He was already mentally prepared, so he was not disappointed. He wanted to see the progress of the mission. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Points, 487 plus 15, 10 million for 1 point. Soul, 44 plus 1 life, 40 plus 1 wisdom, 46 plus 1 luck, 46 plus 1 charm, 36 plus 1 mental power, 50 plus 1 martial power, 45 plus 0 aptitude, 45 plus 1 faith, 5,000 plus 6,000 merit, 50,000 plus 8 million soul strength, 1 plus 2 authorization, 0 pure heart, none comprehended law, water law incarnation, wood law incarnation, space law, earth law incarnation, constructed world, reincarnation world tools, calm aura, calming pill, faith aura, amulet 4, upgraded amulet plus 2 honorary titles, goddess of war, selfless, ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen Shi's blessing, leader aura, grass blessing, best friend for life, Meow Meow Meow's blessing, life-saving hand, Zhu Susu's blessing, founding lady, Chen Ermiai's blessing, beauty-in-law, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, Bai Sanyang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing, bloodthirsty tyrant, Anai Bingyan's blessing, heart of peace and joy, luck aura, faith aura, longevity. Completed the mission. Mission completion rate, 100%. Total mission reward, 10 points, 8 points, 50% of soul power, 6,000 faith, including the previous world's accumulation. 50% of soul power was not much, so the attribute points would be less. As expected, Ning Shu was not disappointed. Now that he had to solve the problem of the fire pearl, he had to do it in the system space, which was only about 10 square meters. It was too hot. Where should he put it? The world of reincarnation? No, the temperature was too high. Ordinary souls would be roasted to death by this temperature. It might even evaporate the reincarnation pool. After thinking about it, he could only place it in a peerless martial art. Ning Shu didn't know what this thing was. He only knew that it was a fire pearl with a very high temperature. Ning Shu opened the chat system. Asking Ah Wan about fire was definitely the right thing to do. After greeting him, Ning Shu went straight to the point and told him about the beads. He even took a picture and sent it over. Ah Wan, where did you find this bead? Ning Shu, I got it by luck while doing a mission. Why is the temperature of this kind of bead so high? Ah Wan explained, there are many forms of water. Heavy water, light water. Fire also has many types of fire. Your kind of fire is called secondary fire. The temperature is quite high. Are you selling this kind of bead? You know that I have a fire law imprint. With this kind of bead, I can evolve my law imprint. Ah Wan's attitude was quite sincere. Since the fire law imprint could absorb secondary fire, then her water law imprint should also be evolving after absorbing heavy water. What would the law imprint evolve into? Ning Shu touched the mark between his eyebrows. He felt that the water inside was still splashing. He didn't know when he would stop thinking about it. Ah Wan, are you selling it? Ning Shu thought that he had more than 10 beads. It didn't matter if he sold 1 or 2 to Ah Wan. He would just treat it as building a relationship. This thing is too hot. Where do you guys meet? Ah Wan, in the city of water. If it's in the city of fire, you won't be able to stand it. Ning Shu condensed a thick layer of ice outside the bottle. This way, it wouldn't be so hot holding the bottle. Ning Shu held the bottle and rushed to the city of water. Under the high temperature, the thick layer of ice quickly melted into water. Ning Shu had to condense more layers of ice frequently. Ning Shu waved. Ning Shu quickly ran over and placed the bottle on the table. Ah Wan placed her hand on the bottle and absorbed the surrounding heat. At the same time, she used a barrier to protect the fire energy from spreading outside. If she didn't do anything, the entire restaurant would probably become a crematorium. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief and sat down. He drank several cups of tea in a row. Ah Wan sized up Ning Shu. I haven't seen you for a while. How did you become like this? Your soul is so weak? Ning Shu waved his hand. Don't mention it. Something happened recently. My soul became like this. How many beads do you want? Ning Shu asked. Actually, I want all of them. But it depends on how many you can split. Ah Wan smiled slightly, revealing her white and neat teeth. It was clearly the fire law imprint, but when she smiled, it actually had a gentle feeling like a spring breeze. Ning Shu said, how about this, I'll give you 5. He had to leave some behind. It might be useful. Ah Wan put down her teacup. More than I thought. Ning Shu said, bad guy. Ah Wan reached her hand into the bottle and took out 5 fire beads. She held them in her hand like marbles. She didn't seem to feel the heat at all. Ning Shu suspected that the temperature he felt was an illusion. I'll reinforce a few barriers for you. This way, the energy won't spread out. Ah Wan said as she set up a few barriers. You're water. You clash with fire. You can't set up barriers. Otherwise, they'll clash and it'll be easy for something to happen. Ning Shu immediately said, okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Reinforce it a few more times. Ah Wan smiled and reinforced it a few times. How about this? I'll give you 200,000 faith power for 1 fire bead. 5 beads for 1 million faith power. Ning Shu didn't know the market price of this thing. He nodded. It was a form of making friends. Ah Wan transferred 1 million faith power to Ning Shu. She looked at Ning Shu and said, let me tell you something. Your soul is so weak. You can go to the void world to find something to make up for it. The void world is in the gap between the world of living beings and the world of reincarnation. Some void worlds even have channels with the world of reincarnation. When souls enter the void world, These souls can't survive and will form something like soul crystals. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, there was such a good thing. Why didn't she know anything? Find some soul crystals and let the main system purify it to make up for it. Ah Wan shook her head. I always feel that your soul is fat and thin. It's different every time I see it. Ning Shu was speechless. Thank you, big sister. I'm fat for fun. This was the benefit of making friends. He immediately got some information. Of course, he had to make friends with people he could get along with. There are a few worlds that are especially easy to produce soul crystals. Find someone to buy a space channel. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to find some. Ah Wan stood up. I'm leaving. Okay, big sister, I'll send you off. Ning Shu hugged the glass bottle. It wasn't hot at all. Ah Wan raised her eyebrows. Big sister? Ning Shu hesitated. What about a girl? Chapter 2934. Then you'd better call me big sister. One said. Ning Shu, take care, big sister. I'll get drunk and sleep with 7 or 8 big sisters. After Ah Wan left, Ning Shu was not in a hurry to leave. He ordered something to eat and reinforced the enchantment of Water City. He ordered a table of salty and sweet food, ate it and wobbled to Wood City and Earth City to reinforce the enchantment. On the way to Wood City, he stopped by the City Lord's mansion to see how the world tree was doing. The world tree in the flower pot still had a little bud tip, and even the tender leaves had not stretched out. The soil in the flower pot was dug out from where the seed was found. If he used the original soil, he was afraid that the world tree seed would not adapt well and cause trouble. He did not know when it would sprout. Before that, he had to strengthen his soul. Ning Shu returned to the system space with the glass bottle and put it on the bookshelf. It was red and looked pretty good. He went to the Peerless Martial Arts Library and threw a few star stones into the Law of Nothingness. After doing this, Ning Shu was ready to find the Chongsam man and ask him where he bought the space passage. He was going to find the soul crystal. If he really relied on tasks, he did not know when he could strengthen his soul. His current soul strength had not even reached the passing line. As a result, the chat system rang. Ning Shu instinctively felt that it was not a good thing. He opened it and saw that it was the main system asking him to pick up garbage again. Why did the main system send him a message when he was not doing a task, but never when he was doing a task? It always accurately caught him when he was lazy. Ning Shu did not want to go. He wanted to find the soul crystal. And now that he had some money, he did not count on the money from picking up garbage to save his life. Besides, he was owed wages. Ning Shu closed the chat system. Even if he did not pick up garbage first, he had to go to the world of Samsara to take a look. Ning Shu picked up the black bone umbrella. The surface of the umbrella had become dusty again. There was so much dirt on it. Walking into the black hole, Ning Shu first went to see the new rebirth pool. When he got closer, he was amazed. The rebirth pool had become so big that it had formed a small lake. There were all kinds of mirages on the surface of the lake, all kinds of beautiful scenes. Looking at the surface of the lake, it was as if he had experienced a lifetime of beauty. It was spectacular. The 9 Palace Mountains small rebirth pond was like a small mud pit, and the rebirth pond on the 9th level was as small as a loach hole. This was the truly spectacular rebirth pool. Beautiful beyond compare. The flowers by the lake released a fragrance, and their hearts were filled with happiness. Ning Shu even wanted to jump down now. Seeing these things, the bitterness and pain in his heart disappeared. He wanted to have this kind of happiness forever. Moreover, there was another thought lingering in his heart, which was to jump down and be happy forever. Jump. The pond of past life had matured and could be put into use. Ning Shu said to the thunder Kirin that was blocking the hole, "You can open the hole now. There's no need to block it." The thunder Qilin cried out, looking like it had been abandoned. That was right, there was no need to block the entrance anymore. It had no value anymore. It followed behind Ning Shu pitifully. Ning Shu, who was walking in front, was like an ant in front of an elephant. It couldn't walk too fast, otherwise, it could trample Ning Shu to death. When they reached the old pond of past life, Ning Shu said to Sword Sovereign, "Go out with the Thunder Kirin and guard the pond outside." Sword Sovereign said, "Yes." Without saying anything else, he carried out the order. Ning Shu said to Li Si, "There's a pond outside. Guard it. If you have nothing to do, run around and inform me if anything happens." Li Si nodded, "Understood." Li Si was still waiting for his master, but he didn't see him. Now, he was a little disheartened. He could only comfort himself that maybe his master was too strong and had a long lifespan, so he didn't come here so quickly. It was better to keep waiting. The Thunder Kirin and Sword Sovereign followed Ning Shu to the pond of past life. The Thunder Kirin found a place to lie down and sleep. Sword Sovereign stood beside the pond of past life. He didn't even change his posture. It felt like he could stand there until the end of time. The souls in the Nine Palace Mountain could come out through the big hole that was created previously. It was fine if they didn't come out. It perfectly solved the problem of the world of reincarnation. Because the world of reincarnation was small, the souls of the two worlds were squeezed together. Now that the world of reincarnation was connected to the outside world, there was no problem of crowding. He didn't know if Black Fog was doing well with His Excellency. He didn't know if His Excellency was torturing him or doting on him. Ning Shu wanted to take a look. Without the Thunder Kirin as a huge obstacle, there were bound to be some souls that wanted to pass through the hole. The outside world wasn't much different. It was just that the pond of past life was slightly bigger and was used for jumping. Now that his spiritual power had become stronger, he wanted to test how long the spatial tunnel was. Since there was a pond of past life, it didn't matter if the souls of the fourth level were attracted to the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu started to build a spatial tunnel to connect to the fourth level. It was connected with difficulty. Before Ning Shu could feel happy, the spatial tunnel he built immediately dispersed. It wasn't strong enough and couldn't even hold on for 10 seconds before it collapsed. Ning Shu was speechless. The length was enough, but the hardness wasn't enough. It seemed like he needed to build it slowly, but slowly building it required a lot of spiritual power. He roughly built it once before he could connect the two worlds. If he were to build it carefully, he might not have enough spiritual power after building half of it. However, Ning Shu could still intuitively feel that her mental strength had become much stronger. But he also felt how strong those big shots were. They could build a spatial system that was both strong and long. How strong must one's spiritual power be to do that? He was still far from it. He had to work hard to not connect the two worlds for the time being because he didn't have enough spiritual power. After arranging things in the world of reincarnation, Ning Shu returned to the system space. He wanted to ask about Black Fog. It was clearly born in her world, but His Excellency treated it as his own. The chat system rang. It must be the main system asking her to pick up trash. It felt like the main system was staring at her and didn't give her any time to rest. It wanted her to pick up trash every day. Ning Shu opened His Excellency's message and asked how Black Fog was recently and if it had grown a little. "His Excellency, what does it have to do with you?" Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, why did he feel that His Excellency was so impulsive? "Ning Shu, I'm just asking out of concern." "His Excellency, it's very good. It has a good appetite and is rolling around in my flower field. It's very naughty. Anyway, it's very good. Don't ask any more." Ning Shu curled his lips. "You're the one who's snatching people. You're even afraid that she'll snatch people away." He felt that this girl wanted to take Black Fog for herself. It wasn't easy to give birth to someone of the same kind. /BK. Chapter 2935. Or it didn't want her to come into contact with the Black Fog too much. "Alright, you two can rely on each other." Ning Shu was bullied by His Excellency. Seeing the main system keep urging her to pick up the trash, Ning Shu couldn't help but retort, "Am I the only one in the world who picks up trash? Can't you find someone else?" "The main system, have you completed the monthly quota? Why are you so fierce if you haven't?" "Ning Shu, I'm super fierce." She wanted to find the soul crystals. Picking up trash was delayed. "The main system, it's fine if you don't pick up the fragments, but you're sneaking into the void world. Was this a threat?" Only the silver-haired man knew about this. Ning Shu didn't believe that the Cheongsam man would be so stupid as to tell everyone about going to the void world. It must be the silver-haired man. Ning Shu had no choice but to go. She would pick up the fragments first before going for the soul crystals. Ning Shu asked Fragrant Wind to make a space passage for her to pick up the fragments. Why was it that the thing that he had wanted so much in the past had become so unrecognizable? Was it because the best was what she couldn't get, and she was bored after getting it? After a while, a space passage appeared in front of her. Ning Shu stepped into the space passage and arrived at the destination. Now it seemed that dealing with these fragments was the same as dealing with the corpses of the planes. It wasn't nice at all. Moreover, there were billions of planes, and there were planes dying every second. Were they a family of corpse pickers? 1 million. Ning Shu suspected that the main system wanted her to pick up a few more times while she was being punished. After all, 1 million per time was equivalent to the work of 10 people. Ning Shu took the bag and prepared to use her vines to pick up the fragments. Using vines was fast and easy. Most importantly, it could save time. Ning Shu's eyes were now full of soul crystals. Only soul crystals. She felt that there were many ways for mission enforcers to become stronger. She used to be stupid and focused on doing missions to become stronger. She didn't think about earning some extra money. She thought that her soul would be slower to become stronger by doing missions because there was no more soul fluid. But now that soul crystals appeared, no matter what, Ning Shu had to find them. Little girl. Ning Shu turned to look at Tan Lang. Why are you still here? You've been picking up fragments all this time. Didn't you do any quests? Ning Shu had to hand it to this guy. He didn't even dare to leave without the approval of the judges, and he even wanted to overthrow the organization. First, he had to overcome his fear of the judges. It was more realistic. As his spiritual power grew stronger, Ning Shu could control a lot more vines. He sat down and controlled the vines. The vines wrapped around the fragments, dragged them over and put them in the bag. Then, they stretched out again to wrap up the fragments. When there were no more fragments in this area, Ning Shu moved again. Wherever he went, the fragments were all gone. With Ning Shu as the center, the vines extended in all directions and picked up quite a number of fragments this time. Even though their speed seemed fast, 1 million was still a lot. Ning Shu had to follow the team several times before he could collect enough. Ning Shu suddenly asked Tan Lang, "There are so many planes. Are we enough with so few people each time? Also, at the same time, more than one plane has problems. By the time we get there, the problem may be quite serious." Of course it's not just us. We've divided into several batches to deal with them at the same time. Are they also mission enforcers and bosses? Alright, she seemed to have been assigned to this batch. Every time they picked up fragments, there were a fixed number of people and they took turns. Then this organization was even bigger than she had imagined. It seemed that there were even factions. After all, there were so many planes. Everyone had a region to be responsible for. They were divided into parts and responsible for their own regions. Then, when doing quests, would they also go to the regions they were responsible for? Ning Shu felt that the vines didn't have enough power. He dripped a few drops of milky white source of life on the mark, and the vines came back to life. We're more unlucky. The people who manage us are all very fierce. Tan Lang sighed. He was obviously worried about his future. His future was bleak. Ning Shu also laughed. In terms of bad luck, there were probably very few people who were as unlucky as her. They were even divided into regions to manage. It seemed that the billions of planes were really too big. Ning Shu asked, "The people in charge of managing the regions are also selected from mission enforcers?" Of course, but they're all very powerful. The main system is responsible for selecting the person in charge. Ning Shu blinked. If she became the person in charge of the region, she would go from being managed by others to managing others. That would be a proper promotion. It was equivalent to the head of a branch company. However, this kind of thing wouldn't be her turn for the time being anyway. She was very weak now, and managing people was too tiring. It was better to work hard and become stronger, and be more carefree. Ning Shu controlled the vines to pick up fragments while moving closer to Fragrant Wind. He asked, "Do you have extra star stones?" Fragrant Wind was no longer irritable, but his expression was a little lifeless. He had been dealing with star stones until now. Before the Grand Uncle came back, Fragrant Wind had to deal with this. The army's affairs were temporarily handled by his deputy. He had to deal with star stones all the time. Now that the Grand Uncle seemed to have left, Fragrant Wind was dealing with it alone. He didn't even have the strength to throw a tantrum. If there wasn't any, then forget it. She would wait for some leftovers and then stay away from Fragrant Wind, who was on the verge of death. If this guy got impatient and threw star stones, she might be hit. The Grand Uncle didn't come back, which meant that he didn't find Zheng Qing. Ning Shu felt that it was safer for Zheng Qing to stay in the law of nothingness. He was a little afraid that Zheng Qing would suddenly appear in front of him. When connecting the planes, Ning Shu collected some star stones below. There weren't many. When they rushed to the next location, Fragrant Wind was so tired that his face didn't look good. He built a passage for everyone to rush to the next place. Ning Shu added a bit of life force and would attribute to him. The healer attribute came into play. Fragrant Wind waved his hand. "This thing is useless to me." "It's useless. Take a sip and you'll feel better." Ning Shu handed it to him. Fragrant Wind took a sip, smacked his lips, and drank it in big gulps. Ning Shu rubbed his hands and said, "It's okay. Is it good?" "There's no taste except for a little coolness." This coolness was due to the law of wood. Ning Shu rubbed his hands and said, "As long as you're satisfied, 100,000 merit points." Cough cough. Fragrant Wind choked. 100,000 merit points? Even the diluted Grand Uncle's liquid of life can be sold for 200,000 merit points. Mine is pure, and I even added would attribute energy. Can't it be sold for 100,000 merit points? Ning Shu asked, a little surprised. "Here you go." Fragrant Wind stuffed the cup into Ning Shu's hand and left. Ning Shu pursed his lips. He didn't ask for any more merit points. He only hoped that Fragrant Wind would be faster in dealing with the star stones. After picking them up, he would go look for soul stones. Fragrant Wind wasn't very fast in dealing with the star stones. Now that he was tired, he was even slower. There were a few times when Fragrant Wind was still dealing with the star stones even after picking up all the fragments. Then a large group of people would sit and wait for him. /BK. Chapter 2936. Ning Shu picked up the trash leisurely. Tan Lang kept looking for opportunities to talk to her, but Ning Shu didn't pay much attention to him. No matter what others thought, Ning Shu felt that the chances of Tan Lang overthrowing the organization were zero. She didn't want to waste time with him. While picking up the fragments, Tai Shu came back and took over Fragrant Wind's job. Fragrant Wind heaved a sigh of relief, looking relieved. Watching Tai Shu handle the star stone, Ning Shu's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. Why did he come back? Had Zheng Qing been caught? If he hadn't been caught, how could he handle the star stone so peacefully? Ning Shu was most afraid of one possibility, which was to stuff 2,333 back into her system space. If that was the case, Ning Shu really wanted to die. In order to avoid being scolded, Ning Shu didn't go over to ask and picked up the trash faster. Tai Shu was obviously more skilled than Fragrant Wind in handling the star stone, and his speed was much faster. Ning Shu silently picked up the scraps of the star stone. Every time he couldn't help but walk toward Tai Shu, Ning Shu would stop and turn in another direction whenever he felt Ning Shu looking at him. He didn't dare to go over and ask because Tai Shu's eyes were full of anger. It would be bad if he went over. After going through several places, he finally picked up enough fragments. Ning Shu asked Fragrant Wind to make a space passage and hurriedly ran back to the system space. "Backup system, are you there?" Ning Shu held his breath and asked. "Yes, what's the matter?" the system asked. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't Zheng Qing. If Zheng Qing had been caught, Zheng Qing would have been forced into the law of nothingness by now. She didn't want to know what happened between these two plastic brothers at all. In the future, Zheng Qing's life and death had nothing to do with her. It wasn't her turn to worry about him. Ning Shu went to the Time City to find the Chongsam man and prepared to go to the world of nothingness to find soul crystals. Ning Shu was willing to try any method that could strengthen the soul. Why are you asking this? Do you want to buy a spatial passage? The Cheongsam man fanned himself and took a sip of tea. Ning Shu, of course we're going to the nothingness. There are good things in the nothingness. Don't you want to go? Other than the clingy heart, the harvest from the previous world was not bad. He had obtained the seed of the world tree and the spirit stone. Ning Shu already had a way to absorb spirit stones without impurities. First, he absorbed the spirit stone and used the spirit energy in it for his own use, which produced impurities. When he used his spirit energy to touch the fire bead, the heat generated by the fire bead would directly burn the spirit ball red. At this time, the tempering of the spiritual sphere could remove the impurities. It couldn't be any better. The spirit stone and the fire pearl are more compatible. The man in the Cheongsam squinted his foxy eyes and asked, "What kind of news did you receive this time? Let's go together and take care of each other." The words villains colluding together appeared in Ning Shu's mind. Ning Shu said, "I heard that it's illegal to go to the nothingness. The organization doesn't allow it." The man in the Cheongsam fanned himself indifferently. There are many things that the organization doesn't allow, but what should be done is still done. This isn't a big deal. The organization doesn't allow it on the surface, but they don't stop mission enforcers from going in private. I don't support the attitude of ignoring. Ning Shu said, "Oh. Actually, these mission enforcers finding ways to strengthen themselves was also good for the organization. The main system even used this to threaten her to pick up trash. I heard that some nothingness worlds give birth to soul crystals. These soul crystals contain the power of the soul," Ning Shu said, hoping to find some soul crystals to strengthen her soul. The man in the Cheongsam raised his eyebrows. "Don't you have soul fluid? Why are you looking for it? It's not easy to find. The probability is the same as looking for pearls in the river sand. It's tiring and a waste of time." Ning Shu sighed and shook her head. "I almost can't get soul fluid now." There was less and less soul fluid in that world. She and Yi Lin had also weakened their master-disciple relationship. Ning Shu wouldn't go to Yi Lin again. If she really wanted to get soul fluid, she would have to find it herself. Moreover, it was very likely that Yi Lin had already found it. Ning Shu wanted to find another way to get soul crystals. "It's not cheap to buy a space passage," the man in the Cheongsam said. "You might not even be able to recoup the cost." "How much did you buy the space passage for this time?" Ning Shu asked. 2 million merit points. Ning Shu was speechless. This world was really challenging the nerves of a poor person like her everywhere. Do you think it's reasonable for a space passage to cost 2 million merit points? If that was the case, would every space passage she asked Fragrant Wind to build cost 2 million merit points? At that time, it wasn't just a space passage. It was a man-made process behind it. A group of people wandered in the void world and sensed that there was something good in the void world. They memorized the location of the world and then built a space passage, including the space passage and information. It's not strange that it's worth so much money. Ning Shu asked, "Why don't you get the treasures in the world and sell them for more money? Why do you have to turn them into information? A piece of information can be sold to many people. How many times can an item be sold? As for whether you can get it or not, it depends on your own ability," the man in the Cheongsam said. Ning Shu grinned and asked, "Do you want to find soul crystals? We can pool the money to buy a space passage and reduce our losses." If they recruited a partner, they could look after each other. What if they encountered danger in the void world? "I don't want to go. I don't need soul crystals." The man in the Cheongsam refused directly. "I like a leisurely life. If you have the money, you can go to the auction house to buy soul crystals. However, the price is a little low. The cost of these soul crystals is high, so the price will make you bankrupt." Ning Shu was speechless. Instead of looking for soul crystals, it's better to get soul fluid. The man in the Cheongsam suggested sincerely. Ning Shu sighed. No matter what, he had to find it and experience it. It didn't matter if he had to spend some money. He could earn more money. "You still want to go?" the man in the Cheongsam asked. "If you can get soul fluid, don't do this." Speaking of which, there were so many souls in her world of reincarnation. It was possible to make soul fluid, but she wouldn't do this. No, there's no soul fluid. Ning Shu shook his head. Are you going or not? If you don't go, I'll go by myself. Where did you buy the space passage? The man in the Cheongsam stood up, tidied up his clothes, and said to Ning Shu, I'll take you there. That place is hidden. You won't find it. After all, it's forbidden by the organization. We can't publicize it. Ning Shu followed the man in the Cheongsam to a small alley. There were many people setting up stalls to buy all kinds of things. Elder Qi, what's the new world this time? The man in the Cheongsam asked a gray-haired old man, /BK. Chapter 2937. Could this old man be the boss? You can't judge a book by its cover. This was the first time Ning Shu had seen an old mission enforcer. All the mission enforcers he had seen were very young. This old man must have lived to the end of his life and become a mission enforcer. The old man said in a muffled voice, There are some new worlds. What are you looking for? Ning Shu said, I want to find soul crystals. It's best if it's a world with fewer people. They might not be able to find soul crystals in a world with more people. What was there to look for when they had already been plundered? The chances of finding something were not high. They would rather spend more money and find a world with fewer people. It would not be a waste of time. The old man immediately said, We did find a few worlds with soul crystals. Ning Shu was only concerned. Have many people been there? He did not want a world that had already been plundered. I can only say that there are not many spatial passages that have been sold. They are more expensive, less than 10. Ning Shu and the man in the Cheongsam looked at each other. The man in the Cheongsam nodded. Okay. Ning Shu asked, How much is the price? 3 million merit points. Ning Shu clutched his heart in pain. Why was it so expensive? Can it be cheaper? Ning Shu had to bargain. This price was beyond Ning Shu's expectations. Spatial passages that are sold in large quantities are cheaper. Things like information are rare and fast, the old man said. Ning Shu looked at the man in the Cheongsam. Are you going? The man in the Cheongsam smiled and said word by word, No. Going. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. People with fine souls were so willful. Ning Shu took it. I want the one from a new world. The old man gave Ning Shu something that looked like an animal's fur. There was a complicated array on it. Ning Shu trembled as he took out 3 million. The old man smiled like a kind old man. He stroked his beard and said to Ning Shu, Come again next time. Ning Shu grinned awkwardly. If she did this a few more times, she would really go bankrupt. A few million each time. How many millions could her assets be worth? Ning Shu asked, Where are soul crystals usually found? The world of nothingness was definitely not big. After all, it was in the gap between the plane and the world of samsara. However, it was not small either. If one had to search the entire world, it would be tiring. Elder Qian said, Usually, these things are close to the world of samsara. You have to search in the direction of the world of samsara. It's close to the world of samsara. Some souls were destroyed by the astral winds when they passed through the spatial walls. The power of these souls precipitated and formed soul crystals. Then how can I distinguish the direction of the world of samsara in the real world? Sharpening the axe would not delay the work of cutting firewood. It was better to ask clearly than to be caught unprepared in the real world. You'll have to judge for yourself. Elder Qian shook his head. The situation is different in every world. After getting what he wanted, Ning Shu thanked Elder Qi and left with the Cheongsam man, preparing to go to this world. The sooner he went, the better. Elder Qian, if you have any good stuff next time, inform me immediately. Don't sell it to so many people so early. This time, a world tree will be fought over by a large group of people, the Cheongsam man said to Elder Qian. Elder Qian smiled. He was an amiable old man. Okay. Don't worry. After leaving the alley, Ning Shu asked, Who is Elder Qian? You don't know him. He's the embodiment of the spatial laws. His comprehension of the spatial laws is unfathomable. The Cheongsam man said, These spatial tunnels were created by him. He created and duplicated spatial tunnels so that they can be carried around and preserved for a long time. Ning Shu was speechless. They were all amazing people. They were really old but vigorous. No, when a person died, his soul did not differentiate age. After all, he did not have a body to hold him back. When he went to war, there was no elder Qian. When they reached the restaurant, Ning Shu went to a private room. The Cheongsam man said to Ning Shu, "Go from here. Do you want me to accompany you? Can you give me 5 million merit points? Even if you don't want me to pay, I won't go." The Cheongsam man waved his hand. "Hurry up and go. I don't know how many spatial tunnels Elder Qian has sold in such a short time." Ning Shu hurriedly opened the array formation, and a tunnel appeared. Ning Shu turned his head and asked, "If you really don't go, I won't charge you. How about that?" He felt a little guilty. He was not doing a mission. At least there was a reminder before doing a mission. He was going to a brand new unknown world. "Hurry up and go. I'm not in the mood to look for things now." With the world tree, all his energy was focused on nurturing it. Ning Shu walked alone in the empty spatial tunnel. It was quiet. Only his own footsteps could be heard. Occasionally, the spatial tunnel would shake. Ning Shu hurriedly stopped and waited until it stopped shaking before continuing. If there was a problem with the spatial tunnel, it would be easy to fall into an unknown spatial crevice and be rolled into pieces. When he finally exited the spatial tunnel, Ning Shu fell to the ground. He looked around and saw that it was a dark world. He did not know if it was because it was dark or because it was gloomy. Ning Shu opened the black bone umbrella. There was no harm in holding it. There was no one around. It was very quiet. Ning Shu suspected that he had arrived at the world of reincarnation. Now, he had to choose a direction that was close to the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu felt that he had the world of reincarnation. Why couldn't he sense it? What was special about the world of reincarnation? It was dry and there was no life. Ning Shu closed his eyes and sensed. Which direction had less life? Which direction was close to the world of reincarnation? With the law of life, Ning Shu did not believe that he could not sense the strength of life. In Ning Shu's consciousness, there were green and white light spots in some directions. There were also places where there were very few green light spots. If these green and white light spots represented life, then he only needed to walk towards the direction with less life. Ning Shu chose a direction and walked over with the black bone umbrella. It was indeed an underdeveloped world. He could not use the law here. The only thing he could use was the law of life. However, the law of life did not seem to have much fighting power. This world was so dead, but Ning Shu clearly felt the existence of life. He did not know if there were any indigenous people in this world. After a while, the sky was completely dark. He could not even see his own fingers. It was as dark as ink. Ning Shu had no choice but to use his mental strength to explore the path ahead. However, this darkness could actually prevent his mental strength from penetrating. It also contaminated his mental strength ball, causing it to be covered in a layer of black ash. Ning Shu quickly retracted his mental strength. If he used it again, his mental strength ball might turn into a charcoal ball. Since he could not walk, Ning Shu stopped. He held the black bone umbrella tightly and waited for daybreak. He came at the wrong time. It was dark. This world was very dangerous. It could even contaminate mental strength. It was scary. However, since he was already here, Ning Shu would not leave until the last moment. 3 million merit points. /BK. Chapter 2938. Since it was already dark, there was no way to leave. Ning Shu squatted in the same spot and waited for dawn. This kind of darkness could pollute one's mental energy. She squatted on the ground and expanded her sea of consciousness. Anyway, she had nothing to do. She kept feeling that something was moving in the dark. It was not normal for the sky to be so dark. Did she enter the body of something? Otherwise, how could it be so dark? Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground and held an umbrella. It was so dark. With an umbrella, she suddenly felt very safe. The night was very long. There was always something running in front of her, but she could not see it at all. Ning Shu held her chin and waited. After a long time, she actually expanded her sea of consciousness a lot. The sky was bright. Even though it was bright, the sky was still gray. Ning Shu stood up and looked at the surface of the umbrella. Damn, it had become pitch black. It was so dark that it was shining. How many dirty things were there? How could it be so serious in just one night? If she stayed in this world, her soul might be seriously polluted. Ning Shu quickened her pace and walked in the direction she had determined before. She walked and walked in this place, but she could not walk to the end. As for the soul crystal, she did not see a single one. The dirt on the surface of the umbrella had become very sticky. It was like asphalt. When pressed, it felt soft. It was indescribably disgusting. At the same time, it meant that there were too many things polluting the soul. Ning Shu wondered if she should give up on this world. She did not want her soul to be polluted because she could not find the soul crystal in the end. Kakik. A sound similar to a burp came from the space. She felt that the whole space was shaking. Then, rain poured down from the sky. This kind of rain was scalding and could melt her soul. Ning Shu felt that her soul was burning. It was very painful and was about to disappear. Damn, what's going on? Ning Shu hurriedly ran back the way he came. He was not running, but swimming. This feeling was like a person swimming in water. It was painful. Ning Shu was about to be burned. Teleport back to the space. Ning Shu said to the backup system. It didn't matter if the 3 million was gone, but in this situation, survival was more important. Sorry, it seems like the space has been locked. We can't connect to the space node you're in. We can't teleport back to the system space, the backup system said objectively and calmly. Ning Shu was speechless. It was baffling. Could it be that he was going to die here for no reason? He didn't even know what was going on. If he died, he had to know the reason. Did you eat something dirty again? Someone's voice could be heard faintly, and the space was padding rhythmically, as if it was comforting him. Someone? Ning Shu's eyes lit up. There's someone here. Help. Is there anyone here? He couldn't go out, and the laws weren't easy to use. If he used spiritual power, the spiritual sphere would be contaminated, and this water could even devour spiritual power. If this continued, she would be swallowed by the water. Ning Shu used the law of life to water the vines. The vines could still be used in front of him. Ning Shu used the vines to prop them up, preventing them from being corroded by the water. But this water actually corroded the vines. As soon as the vines came into contact with the water, they turned black. He had never seen this kind of water before. It fell from the sky and drowned the whole world. What dirty thing did she eat? Could it be that she was really eaten by something? The space trembled, and the water flowed rapidly in one direction. Ning Shu was carried away by the rapid flow of water, and then fell down from the cliff that was 10,000 feet high. Ning Shu was drenched in water. It was as if red-hot molten iron had fallen from the sky and poured on his head. He was cooked. Ning Shu hurriedly avoided the water. He looked up and saw a huge yiksha. Beside the yiksha was a cloud of black fog. And the black fog was vomiting, and Ning Shu was vomited out like this. She probably came to the world of samsara, so she could see these two things. And she was eaten by the black fog. His soul was almost melted by the black fog's stomach acid. How did she walk into the black fog's body? Ning Shu looked at his soul and felt that it was a little weaker. It was corroded by the stomach acid. Before, it was just a small cloud of black fog, but now it had grown so big that it covered the sky. How many souls did His Excellency feed this fellow for it to grow so quickly? It swelled up like it was fed hormones. Also, when His Excellency didn't meet people, did he turn into a yaksha? That was too fierce. She couldn't even compare to a single hair on His Excellency's leg. From this, one could see how big His Excellency was. I told you not to eat some souls, you won't be able to digest them, His Excellency said while patting the black fog. He was probably trying to help the black fog breathe. Ning Shu shouted, "Oi, I am below you. Look down." But no one cared about him. The black fog vomited for a while and then stopped. Ning Shu looked around. He guessed that they really reached the world of samsara. Not far away, he could actually see a sea of flowers. This was the first time Ning Shu saw His Excellency's flowers. Some of the flowers were especially large, especially frightening, and very terrifying. It was as if the flowers were malicious ghosts. They were so big that Ning Shu suspected that he had become small. Fortunately, His Excellency didn't send such big and scary flowers. Was it because of the clap during the teleportation? Ning Shu jumped up to greet him. He used the vines to rise up. His Excellency. His Excellency stared at Ning Shu with his big eyes. Ning Shu was like an ant, while His Excellency's eyes were as big as a fist. His Excellency's figure gradually shrank and turned into an elegant human figure in a tuxedo. His Excellency patted the black fog. "You go back first." The black fog went back. Obviously, the vomiting made him very uncomfortable. After the black fog left, His Excellency said, "You are that dirty thing." Ning Shu asked, "The black fog has grown so big. Is this the world of samsara?" "No, it is the void world beside the world of samsara." His Excellency said lightly, "This is my territory now." Ning Shu asked again, "Why not the world of samsara? Why here?" His Excellency said, "Why do you have so many questions? In the world of samsara, there are souls stealing flowers every day. There are so many that I am too lazy to eat them. Someone actually dared to steal the flowers of a crazy demon." Ning Shu looked at the flowers that were taller than trees. "Why would they steal your flowers? Why would someone like such ugly flowers? These flowers contain the power of souls. Of course, there are souls stealing them. What are you doing here? Stealing flowers." His Excellency looked at Ning Shu indifferently. "Ning Shu, if I knew that you were here, I would definitely not waste 3 million merit points. Whether this information was wrong or not, it was not certain whether there were soul crystals or not. Then he would buy 3 million merit points. But the person who bought the information might not get anything and wasted time. In the end, he got nothing. Was there no one who smashed the stall?" Chapter 2940. Ning Shu rushed to the world of samsara without stopping. She decided to plant all the weeds in the world of samsara. Other than some flowers, there were no other plants in the world of reincarnation. At least there was some greenery there. Ordinary plants could not survive in the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu called Li Si and the Sword King over to help him plant the weeds. Of course, the huge Thunder Kirin was also useful. It was convenient to use its mouth to pick the weeds. There were already some brave souls that came out of the hole and came to the world of reincarnation. But there were not many of them. They wandered around. When they saw Ning Shu planting the trees, they came over to watch. The land in the world of reincarnation was desertified. It was gray and black sand. He did not know if the weeds could survive in such an environment. Forget it, he would plant them first. Ning Shu felt that it was necessary to see what the other worlds of reincarnation were like. He felt that his world was empty, as if there was nothing in it. The weeds were huge and it was difficult to plant them. He had to dig deeper or they would fall. It took a lot of effort to plant all the weeds. It looked like a small forest. It depended on whether the weeds could survive. If he had the power of the soul, he might be able to survive. But this was what Ning Shu lacked the most. He would not be so rich as to use the power of the soul to water the plants. Whether the weeds could survive was up to fate. If not, Ning Shu would send the weeds to be purified. Maybe he could even get some power of the soul. After planting the weeds, Ning Shu asked Li Si to take care of the plants. He then returned to the system space and prepared to clean the umbrella. It was too dirty. There was too much dirt. The black fog probably ate too many souls and there were too many impurities in its body. He sent the umbrella to the after-sales service. In the end, the customer service told him, "Dear, your umbrella can't be cleaned anymore." Ning Shu was puzzled. Why? Every time it was cleaned, it would cost 10,000 merit points. The customer service said, "Dear, it's too dirty and no one is willing to clean it. Secondly, your umbrella has been cleaned a few times and has reached the end of its lifespan. Please buy a new one." All right, another 50,000 merit points. Ning Shu did not feel any heartache about buying the black bone umbrella. The black bone umbrella had already become a necessity for her. As long as it was useful, she was willing to buy it. What was 50,000 merit points? He had even spent 3 million merit points to buy a spatial passageway. Ning Shu bought a new black bone umbrella and asked the main system, when will the penalty for not purifying the soul be lifted? Ning Shu felt a little embarrassed that he had to find someone else every time. Moreover, he had to give someone else a little reward every time. She was conscientious in picking up garbage. Every time, she would pick up 1,000,000 yuan, which was 10 times the workload of others. Once she got used to this punishment, she would get used to it. But why didn't he remove the purification? Ning Shu said, I'm always picking up the trash seriously. The main system had the purification technology, so he could only look for the main system. Ning Shu hadn't even touched the purification door yet. The main system said, your punishment will still last for a while. When the time comes, it will be removed along with the 1,000,000 points. Ning Shu asked, can you remove the purification first? The main system said, no, this is the punishment given by the organization. Being able to bargain is called punishment. Ning Shu pursed his lips. It seemed that he could only look for the Chongsam man. Looking at the fire pearl on the bookshelf, Ning Shu used his spiritual energy to bring the glass bottle in front of him. He took out a bean-sized soul crystal and threw it into the bottle. The soul crystal was roasted by the fire pearl. It melted and disappeared. The temperature was really high. He didn't know if the soul power that was being roasted by the fire pearl was pure or not. As a result, the bottle suddenly burst into small flames. The soul power was being burned? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. It seemed that using the high temperature was useless. Ning Shu gave up on the experiment for now. He held the black bone umbrella and looked for the Chongsam man. You're back so soon. Did you find anything good? The Chongsam man asked. Every time he saw the Chongsam man, he was so relaxed. Ning Shu felt that he was running around like a dog. I found something, but don't mention the process. Ning Shu sat down to drink water and took out the soul crystal. He took out all the soul crystals. Ning Shu didn't have the habit of saving things now. It was useless to save them, so he might as well use them himself. Maybe he wouldn't have any left. Such a big soul crystal? The Chongsam man was shocked when he saw the soul crystal. Where did you find it? In that world, right? Ning Shu waved his hand. Don't talk about it. I can't go to that world. I was almost eaten. If I go there again, I'll die very miserably. The Chongsam man was a little doubtful. He asked, do you need to purify all of them? Ning Shu nodded. It was useless to keep them. Now that there were 2 reincarnation pools in the world of samsara, she didn't need to provide additional soul power. Peerless martial arts didn't need to be fed to the soul origin. She felt that she had suddenly raised her son overnight. It was much easier. There were some things that didn't need to be shared. The Chongsam man quickly sent the soul crystals to be purified. He waved his fan and said to Ning Shu, let's go together next time. Seeing so many soul crystals, the Chongsam man was also tempted. Ning Shu quickly shook his head. I'll tell you directly. That place is the territory of His Excellency. You can't go there. Isn't His Excellency in the world of samsara? Why did he go to the world of nothingness? The Chongsam man asked in surprise. When he mentioned His Excellency, he could only think of His Excellency in the world of samsara, sitting on a huge chair made of white bones. They don't allow people to have vacation villas or anything. Anyway, I won't go there. It's a matter of credibility. The silver-haired man didn't say anything. It seemed that he had given up the idea. Ning Shu asked, do you know how the main system purifies the soul power? The Chongsam man said, how would I know? The organization knows no more than 10 methods to purify the soul power. This is top secret information. It's not something you and I can know. I'm afraid that some mission enforcers will run amok if they know the purification method. They can collect souls wantonly and purify their own souls. If their will is not strong enough, they will easily lose control. You want to purify your own soul power? Until now, no one has figured out how to purify it. It's not that no one has researched it, but no matter what, There is no way to completely purify the soul power. There is no way to use it directly. Ning Shu said, "Oh." This technique seemed to be more complicated than he thought, and it wouldn't be widely publicized. The pure soul power was sent back. The silver-haired man took 10%, and Ning Shu absorbed his share. This time, there was a lot of soul power. After Ning Shu drank it, his soul gradually became clearer. His eyebrows, eyelashes, and even the lines on his hair and clothes became clearer. His soul was much stronger. Ning Shu looked at his hand. It was like a real hand. It was great. His soul was finally stronger. Chapter 2942. Alright, it was true that she knew too little about the world tree. She only knew that each leaf of the world tree was a world. That alone was awesome. The Cheongsam man put away the world tree. There was nothing left in his palm. Does your soul still hurt? She felt uncomfortable when she first fused. Was the Cheongsam man still feeling uncomfortable? It's a little uncomfortable. The roots of the world tree want to take root in the soul. It will definitely hurt. Ning Shu was speechless. Now that you mention it, it's so scary. Take root in the soul. What do you use to cut open the soul? Ning Shu asked. Could it be that the soul would hurt if it was cut open with a knife? There's a knife that I've used before. This kind of knife won't contaminate the soul. 100,000 credits for one use, the Cheongsam man said. Why is it so expensive? Because I bought it so expensive, and I only used it once. If I don't get some money back, I'll feel bad. Do you want it? It'll be much cheaper. I bought it with 500,000 merit points. The Cheongsam man was very calculative. He looked like a miser. If he was poor, he wasn't as poor as her. The Cheongsam man had taxes from the city and opened a restaurant. She didn't know how much money he had. She had no taxes and no source of income. She had an iron rice bowl job of picking up garbage, but she didn't get paid. She was talking about herself when she said she was useless. Give it to me. I'll fuse it when I go back, Ning Shu said to the Cheongsam man. She had to wash herself first, burn incense, and bathe before fusing. She was actually tempering the spiritual ball. The spiritual ball was contaminated. To prevent the world tree from being contaminated, Ning Shu had to remove the impurities inside before fusing. Her soul should be relatively clean. After all, she always carried an umbrella wherever she went, regardless of whether it was sunny or windy. The Cheongsam man gave Ning Shu a dagger. It didn't seem any different from an ordinary dagger. When he pulled it out, it was shiny and a little creepy. Here, don't use too much strength. You'll chop off your own hand. Ning Shu nodded and gave the Cheongsam man 100,000 merit points. She held the flower pot and the dagger and returned to the system space. She put down the things. Now it was time to temper the spiritual ball. Ning Shu used her spiritual power to touch the fire bead. The heat of the fire bead burned the spiritual ball, and this heat was transmitted to the spiritual ball. Ning Shu didn't stop until the spiritual ball had turned completely red. Then she began to hit the spiritual ball again and again, hammering it with her fists. With each touch, the dirt covering the surface of the spiritual ball began to slowly dissipate, and the spiritual ball was no longer black. After finishing the tempering, the mental sphere regained its previous luster. Ning Shu pulled out the dagger and opened his hand. Ning Shu wanted to place the world tree seed in his left hand. He had used his right hand too much, so it was probably worn out. It was better to place the world tree seed in his left hand. Ning Shu was a little nervous. He took the world tree out of the pot, washed the soil, and put it aside for later use. Then, he used a knife to cut open his palm. Then he opened the opening and placed the world tree inside. It felt so fucking cruel. Ning Shu hurriedly placed the world tree in the wound. Otherwise, it would heal. The world tree was planted in the palm of his hand. Soon, Ning Shu felt that the world tree had grown many roots from his palm. These roots snaked and took root in various parts of his body. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, it hurts. Ning Shu wailed. It was so painful. The roots were taking root in his soul. One moment, this place would bulge, and the next moment, that place would bulge. It was too fucking painful. The man in the Cheongsam said that it hurt a little. He thought that it wouldn't hurt much, but it turned out to be so painful. He wasn't mentally prepared at all. What made Ning Shu the most depressed was that the pain of growing roots was one thing, but as the leaves grew, they disappeared from the palm of her hand. Ning Shu searched everywhere. He even searched the soles of his feet, but he couldn't find them. He couldn't help but scratch his head. Where did that thing go? Was it playing hide and seek? However, when Ning Shu scratched his head, he seemed to have touched something like a leaf. He was stunned. Could it have grown to his head? He clearly placed it in his palm. Why did it grow to his head? Ning Shu took a look in the mirror. Fuck, it really grew to his head. Did it settle on the crown of his head? He stared at 2 leaves. They would grow in the future. How could he face others with such an image? A tree on his head in the future? Ning Shu really wanted to pull this thing out. However, he used a little strength. The roots pulled at his soul and it hurt. He didn't want to be like this. If he had known it would grow to his head, Ning Shu wouldn't have fused with it. Why did it grow to his head? He didn't want to lose face. The top of his head was green. Ning Shu really wanted to take a pair of scissors and directly cut off the world tree that was like 2 tender green tea leaves. This image would be a joke in the future. It was too embarrassing. Ning Shu found it hard to accept. He felt bitter. If he really cut off the world tree, he would feel terrible. However, with the world tree on his head, he felt even worse. In addition to doing tasks, he had to wander around when he had nothing to do. He had to look at the world of reincarnation and have a meal in a restaurant. Then, with a tree on his head, other people would stare at him with shocked eyes. Ning Shu felt a little unbearable. For a long time, Ning Shu still couldn't accept this cruel fact. He had no choice but to tie up his hair. Then he twisted his hair and made a bun. He put the world tree in his hair so that it couldn't be seen. He could cover it temporarily. However, the world tree would grow. At that time, the bun wouldn't be able to cover it at all. Would he wear a towering headscarf on his head in the future? He didn't want to go out at all. He didn't want to see people even if the plastic surgery failed. However, he had to consult whether it was possible to relocate the world tree. If it didn't work, he could let it be on his head and hide in his soul. However, the buds were waving in the wind on his head. Ning Shu dragged his tired body to find the silver-haired man to consult. The silver-haired man saw Ning Shu and sat down. He asked, "What do you want to consult this time?" Ning Shu raised his hand and gently removed the bun on his head, revealing the buds of the world tree inside. He put his head close to the silver-haired man so that he could see the buds in his hair clearly. He asked in a low voice, "Look, can you let the world tree grow in another place? This place won't work." It was really embarrassing. The silver-haired man twitched the corner of his mouth. "The world tree has time to grow. When the time is right, it will automatically hide in your soul. I planted it in my hand, but it suddenly grew on my head." But would the world tree only emerge from his head when he summoned it in the future? Ning Shu couldn't accept it. He pounded the ground and cried bitterly. The silver-haired man stretched out his finger and stopped at the mark between Ning Shu's eyebrows. He sensed it and withdrew his hand. He said, "The world tree will find the best place to grow. There are rules of life between the eyebrows. Being close to the rules of life will make the world tree grow better." /BK. Chapter 2943. It absorbed a little of the power of the rules of life, so it ran to the top of your head. It actually cares about your image, or it would have grown on your forehead. Ning Shu was speechless. "I really have to thank it. It's so fucking considerate." Ning Shu asked, "How do you solve it?" It was fine if it grew on the top of her head, but could it be hidden? This is not easy to solve. "You can't control where it wants to grow," the silver-haired man said calmly. Ning Shu tidied up her bun. "You can at least make it hide, right? Why can some people hide? For example, the man in the Cheongsam could hide it directly in his body." She felt that her seedling was a little unique, rebellious, wanton, and free. It floated on her head. It stays where it is because it's the same everywhere. Once there's a suitable place for it to grow, it will definitely move. As for hiding it, that's because there's not enough energy. It needs energy to stretch it out, so it might as well hide it. All living things have the instinct to protect themselves, and the world tree is the same. Ning Shu was speechless. Can it return to my hand in the future? She planted it in her hand and ran to the top of her head. It was cooler in her hand. When she reached out, a tree grew out of her palm. Yes, it should be able to sense your intentions. It should return, but the world tree always needs energy. It's hard to say if it will return to its previous nest. Ning Shu was speechless. It should maybe go back? It should maybe not go back. Ning Shu had nothing to live for. In this situation, she might be more cautious and merge with the world tree. And she felt that the roots were still implanted in her soul. Ning Shu felt that she should learn some prophecy law or something. No matter what she did, she should make a prophecy. Her luck had never been good. Although it grew on her head, according to the silver-haired man, it should be a good thing. With the rules of life nurturing the world tree, it should grow well. But the problem was that her bun couldn't cover the branches anymore. Was she really going to walk around with a tree on her head? If she hung some lights and ribbons, she would be a walking Christmas tree. The silver-haired man asked, "Is there anything else you want to ask?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No, how much is it?" 50,000 merit points. It was not a big problem, and the price was not expensive. Ning Shu transferred the money to the silver-haired man. Then he suddenly thought of something. "Did you tell the main system about me going to the Nihility world? Otherwise, the main system would use her trip to the Nihility world to threaten her to pick up trash." The silver-haired man was stunned. "What are you talking about? Everyone is well aware of this." Could it be that he had really wronged the silver-haired man? Ning Shu laughed and said, "I'm just saying. I'll leave first." Ning Shu walked out of the consultation room with the umbrella in hand. He paused at the door and touched the meatball on his head to make sure it was still there. Walking on the street, Ning Shu always felt that many people were staring at the ball on his head, as if they knew what was hidden inside. Ning Shu thought, "I must be too sensitive." Ning Shu was most worried that the meatball on his head would grow and stay on his head. She probably would not go anywhere except for missions. Ning Shu returned to the system space and took out the spiritual stone. He absorbed a lot of spiritual power from the spiritual stone. The ping-pong ball grew to the size of a basketball. However, the luster on the surface of the spiritual ball was dim, and it was inconvenient to use it without refining it. It was just a rough absorption, and it was not his yet. Only after refining it and removing the impurities and pollution would it be his. After absorbing enough, Ning Shu stopped and used his spiritual power to play with the fire beads and refine it. It grew from the size of a basketball to the size of a baseball. Now that my soul has grown bigger, I can try to connect the world of reincarnation and the fourth level of Nine Palace Mountain. Ning Shu took advantage of the umbrella and went to the world of reincarnation. He was ready to lead the souls of the fourth level into the world of reincarnation. When the hole was blocked, some souls tried to get out. Now that the hole was wide open and there was no giant thunder Kirin guarding it, the souls inside did not come out. There were not many souls wandering outside, and it was empty. He wanted to lead the souls of orcs or humans to the outside world. Ning Shu took a deep breath and felt his scalp itch. He felt the world tree poking at him, wanting to merge with him. Ning Shu did not know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. It seemed like fragrant wind was also the world tree. He focused on building the spatial tunnel. It had to be very sturdy, or else it would break down easily. Fortunately, he used the spiritual stone and had enough spiritual power. It was very taxing, and he was so tired at the last stage that he gritted his teeth and persevered. Finally, the two planes were connected. At the same time, the spatial tunnel began to hide. It could not be seen or touched, but there was a tunnel in front of him. Ning Shu sat cross-legged beside the spatial tunnel, betting on whether the first to come out would be an orc or a human. In essence, no matter if it was a human or an orc, they were all human souls. Soon, the first soul appeared. It was a human soul. Looking around, this person was very confused and scratched his head. When he saw Ning Shu squatting there, his eyes lit up. "What is this place? Am I not dead? Miss, who are you?" The soul asked politely, "Ning Shu." Ning Shu said, "You are dead. This is hell, the place where you can reincarnate. He pointed at the pool of reincarnation. The soul was quickly attracted by the pool of reincarnation. He walked toward it step by step as if he had lost his mind. The pool of reincarnation was very big, and there were all kinds of beautiful mirages. Everyone saw different things. Coupled with the fragrance of the flowers, it was hard for anyone to resist the feeling of happiness. Soon, many souls came through the spatial tunnel. These souls belonged to humans, orcs, and all kinds of animals. They appeared in this world in a flash. Some people did not understand what was going on and were very confused. Some were attracted by the pool of reincarnation and jumped in without hesitation. Some were very vigilant and looked around. Seeing that the spatial tunnel could be used, Ning Shu was relieved. However, he had to check it in the future to avoid any problems with the spatial tunnel. With the pool of reincarnation, the orcs who were used as a transit point would probably be extinct. It was not an estimate, but a certainty. They were originally a deformed species, created by the heavenly Tao to reincarnate. There was no need. They should be eliminated from history. Chapter 2944. Ning Shu took a stroll in the wild grass forest. The leaves of the grass here were a little withered. Were they dying? Could it be that they couldn't adapt to the environment of the world of reincarnation? If they really withered, it would be a pity. Would it be possible to get some life force? Ning Shu thought about it. Forget it. Since it was something that grew in the world of reincarnation, then it should be something that was filled with life force. The splashing sound from the life pool was pleasing to Ning Shu's ears. But if these people jumped in, the world of reincarnation would have soul energy. There were almost 10 connected worlds. Before the rebirth pools formed in these 10 worlds, they relied on the 2 rebirth pools to sustain them. Ning Shu entered a slightly more mature world. The world was still desolate. There was nothing there. Those worlds that were born not long ago had nothing. When he entered, there was only white fog. The white fog shrouded the surroundings. He couldn't see anything at all. Fortunately, he didn't need to support himself. Otherwise, without soul fluid and soul stones, what could he use to support so many worlds? Especially when his soul was weak before, there wasn't much soul fluid. That could really force him to death. Fortunately, the problem of energy was solved. In the future, he would have to worry about the protection and maintenance of the world of reincarnation. He needed someone to look after the world of reincarnation. Calamity beasts would be born. These beasts needed skeletons to destroy them. Anyway, Ning Shu's soul couldn't stand the stench of the beasts. If he got close, he would be contaminated. But how to mass-produce skeletons and mass-produce skeletons was a complete mystery. Everything had to be created from scratch. Then how long had the organization existed? It should have developed from nothing to now. Now, the most worrying thing was the peerless martial art. What method should she use to remove the law of nothingness from the peerless martial art? Ning Shu touched her head. She was afraid that the bun would fall apart and the bud would be exposed. In the future, the bun wouldn't be able to cover it. Would she have to use a wig and make a huge bun? Ning Shu planned to enter the 5th world. The problem of the 4th world was solved. He should be able to enter the 5th world. In the end, he still couldn't squeeze in. After trying a few times, he was repelled. He squeezed in with difficulty but was ejected. What was going on? Why does this world always reject me? Is it because I'm not strong enough? Most likely, the grand uncles and abyssal prefects were only able to enter because they weren't strong enough. Unable to squeeze in, Ning Shu gave up. If she didn't want to go, then so be it. She guessed that this world didn't need her, so she refused to let an outsider like her in. Ning Shu returned to the system space and prepared to complete the mission. The Cheongsam man sent a message. Ning Shu opened the chat panel and read the message. The Cheongsam man said, "There's something good. Do you want to go? I heard that the treasure this time is a person. Human." Ning Shu refused without thinking. "I'm not going." She was already traumatized by this person. If there was another one like her heart, she would really explode on the spot. "Ning Shu, I'm going to do a mission." Her behavior was as strange as someone who took the initiative to do homework or take the initiative to work overtime. The man in the Cheongsam was speechless for a while before he said, "It's not a person. It's a corpse." Abyssal prefects loved things like corpses the most. Although they received the news, abyssal prefects might have already taken it away and worked for nothing. Also, what was the point of corpses? Putting them in the system space as decoration and then watching them slowly decay and emit a charming corpse smell? She couldn't understand. She wasn't a delicate flower. Ning Shu still refused. "I'm not going. I'm scared. I'm scared of corpses." Ning Shu was afraid that her hair bun would loosen and reveal the world tree above her head. She felt inferior now. The man in the Cheongsam said, "I'm really not going. I heard that this body is very useful. There's a vast universe and world in the body. If the soul takes over such a body, it'll directly reach the sky in one step." Ning Shu was concerned about something else. If there's a body, how will the world tree grow? Could it grow in the flesh? The flesh was bloody and dirty, but the world tree could still grow. The man in the Cheongsam didn't speak for a long time. How can we ignore the world tree? Even dragging an arm will be beneficial. Ning Shu. She didn't want to go even more. Ning Shu said, "Sorry, I'm not interested in corpses, no matter how expensive they are." The man in the Cheongsam was still coaxing Ning Shu. "Are you really not going? I heard that after the mighty people died, their bodies were placed in the endless depths. This was an accidental discovery. Let's go and broaden our horizons. Many people have already received the news, but this kind of thing is very secretive. Are you going?" What was there to see about corpses? Ning Shu was really not interested. Besides, it was probably very dangerous. Her life was more important. She was a little fairy. Did she want to have a huge body? If she had a body, she wouldn't be able to do missions and earn soul power. She was a little angel who loved to do missions. Ning Shu refused again. "I'm not going." The man in the Cheongsam had no choice. "How about this? I'll pay you and you'll be my bodyguard. I don't need you to raise money to buy a space passage." Hearing this, Ning Shu was a little tempted. She asked, "Don't tell me you want me to snatch something for you? I don't have that ability." "We're not going to snatch it. We're just going to watch the show. There are so many people we probably won't be able to snatch it. We're just going to see what the corpse looks like. It said that it's very huge and can destroy a plane with one punch." Ning Shu, you can imagine all you want. "Are you going or not?" Ning Shu asked, "How much will you pay me?" The man in the Cheongsam said, "We'll talk about the salary in person." Ning Shu took the black bone umbrella to the Time City restaurant. The man in the Cheongsam was waiting for her. Seeing Ning Shu, the man in the Cheongsam was stunned. "Why did you tie up your hair? It's still this hairstyle. Your face is small and you have a bun. You look like a child. What a youthful hairstyle." Ning Shu was glad that there was only one tree. Otherwise, she would have to tie 2 buns. That would be even more hilarious. Ning Shu picked up the dessert on the table and nibbled on it. She asked, "Did Elder Qian tell you this?" "Yes, but Elder Qian said not to spread the news. That corpse doesn't look simple." Ning Shu took a sip of tea and swallowed the sweet pastry. "Why do you say it's a corpse? What if it's just sleeping and a bunch of people running over there waving flags and shouting? If it wakes up and gets angry, we might not be able to come back." Ning Shu was puzzled. Why was it confirmed that it was a corpse and not sleeping? "I heard that we've already tested it. The universe in the body is endless, but the person has no vitality." The man in the Cheongsam waved his fan. "Let's just take a look from afar. Don't think about treasures. If you can snatch it for me, the price will be calculated separately." Ning Shu really wanted to spit out the dessert on his face. Was he asking her to go and kill herself? Chapter 2945. This kind of news, this kind of treasure, there must be a lot of people going. Not to mention the large number of people, there was also a dangerous giant. They tried but it didn't wake up. Maybe the giant was in a deep sleep. It was sleeping well, but it was suddenly discovered and a group came to move it away. At that time, It might suddenly wake up and roar about wanting to kill them. If it was caught, it would be impossible to run away. Ning Shu chewed the cake and shook her head. Let's not go. What if something happens? Moreover, it was best not to touch corpses. She was still suffering from the aftereffects and was a little afraid of supernatural creatures that were not raised by her parents. Ning Shu asked, "How much are you paying me?" If the money was too little, she wouldn't go. The man in the cheongsam said, 100,000 merit points. Ning Shu was speechless. So little? This is a deadly thing. You only gave me 100,000? She might encounter some danger. I'll give you money to let you see the world. If you don't want to go, I'll find someone else. The man in the cheongsam didn't force her. He mainly wanted to find someone he knew. The man in the cheongsam also knew that it was very dangerous. If he asked someone to help him, the chances of survival would be higher. He had no choice. He was too curious. If he didn't go, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Since we're acquaintances, I'll call you first. Tell me if you want to go or not. I'll inform others. If you're late, you won't see anything. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and asked, "How do you know the news?" Why didn't she know anything? Where did the man in the cheongsam get the news? The man in the cheongsam raised his chin. Because I'm a VIP member. If there's any important news, the elders will inform me. It's up to me whether I want to go or not. Ning Shu thought, what are you showing off for? How much per year? Ning Shu also wanted to know what was going on. If there were any treasures or new discoveries, even if he didn't need them, he could sell them to make money. The man in the cheongsam said, 10 million merit points. Ning Shu was speechless. If you give me more money, I'll go and take a look. Ning Shu said, maybe he could pick up a giant's dandruff. Maybe the dandruff and fingernails were the world. The dandruff was probably bigger. No extra money. If you can bring back something good, even if it's the finger of a powerful being, I'll give you extra money, the cheongsam man said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Money was important, but his life was more important. There was no need to joke about his life. Should he go or not? Of course he would. He just wanted to take a look from afar. Ning Shu was quite curious about how big the bodies of the higher beings were. His body was filled with the mysterious world of the universe. This was very powerful. Ning Shu nodded. Let's go. But before we leave, we need to get some equipment that can help us escape so that we can run faster. Time was money. The cheongsam man nodded. Then he took out a spatial tunnel and said to Ning Shu, this spatial tunnel will teleport you to a place not far from the corpse. Ning Shu nodded and followed the cheongsam man into the spatial tunnel. The spatial tunnel was very long. Ning Shu and the man in the cheongsam walked for a long time. They did not dare to speak on the way, fearing that the slightest sound would affect the stability of the spatial tunnel. When they came out of the spatial tunnel, they realized that they were in the void. There was nothing around them. This place was probably a little far from the plane. They wondered if the system could teleport them back. A huge body floated in the void. It was so huge that they could not see the end of it. There was a black fog supporting him. His body was covered in something like ice crystals. It felt like frozen meat in a refrigerator. So big. Ning Shu exclaimed. Where could such a huge body fit in? How could it live? It seemed like it was true that he could destroy a plane with one punch. Other than Ning Shu and the cheongsam man, there were already many people flying around the huge body to explore. Ning Shu tried to fly as high as possible. He wanted to see what this giant looked like from above. The whole body was covered in ice crystals. His face was blurry, but from above he looked slender. Through the blurry ice crystals, his face should not be too bad. One hand covered his heart and the other on his abdomen. His face was so peaceful that he looked like a sleeping beauty. It was just that he had grown too big. Who would dare to kiss such a terrifying sleeping beauty? Some people were walking on the corpse, trying to break the ice. The cheongsam man floated beside Ning Shu. It looks like a corpse. And it's frozen. Ning Shu was not sure. How could such a powerful person die so easily? Ning Shu said, let's just watch from the sidelines. The cheongsam man fanned himself and did not speak. Although there were many people here this time, compared to the huge body, These people were as small as fleas. They were even smaller than brooms. His fingers looked like long mountain ranges. Picking and groping the giant's body, he groped and groped. But they could not do anything to the giant's body. First, they had to break the ice crystal layer. There was a world in this giant's body. Ning Shu believed that. Ning Shu looked around. He did not intend to get any treasures. Even if he got such a body, his soul was too weak to support such a body. One had to have a very strong soul to be able to support such a body. Ning Shu touched his arm and felt a little goosebumps. He said to the Chongsam man, "Should we leave? Anyway, we have seen the giant's appearance. We should go." The Chongsam man fanned himself and stared at the giant. "Wait a little longer. We'll leave after a while." Ning Shu was a little helpless. They had said that they were just here to take a look. How many times had they looked? They were still looking. The Chongsam man probably did not want to come here for nothing. He wanted to stay and see if there was anything good. But Ning Shu was not interested in these creatures. What was the use of dragging a corpse? Even if there was any treasure on this giant, it was not her turn to take it. There were so many powerful mission enforcers here. The possibility of her getting something was very small. So, Ning Shu did not have any expectations. He was calm, but he kept getting goosebumps. He could not stop feeling cold. The temperature of the ice crystal on the corpse was probably too low. There was no soul in this body, but the body was still intact. There was still a breath of life. Ning Shu could feel it. So, she did not want to go up at all. If she ran up and stepped on it, it would wake up. Such a behemoth could crush them to death with a single finger. The mission enforcers used all kinds of martial arts. They wanted to enter this body and hit the corpse with all kinds of brilliant moves. But the corpse was still good. Its eyes were still closed. Its eyelashes were longer than a tree. Looking from above, the eyelashes were thick and slender, and the eyebrows were straight. The Adam's apple was like a protruding hill, and the hollow collarbone could form a lake. Chapter 2946. He looked like a handsome guy with delicate features. He was a little fresh meat. It was just that the body was a little big, not a little big, but very big. Some people were busy, and some were like Ning Shu and the Chongsam man, watching carefully and not making a move easily. Ning Shu touched his arm, feeling uncomfortable, and said to the Chongsam man, "Let's go. This is obviously not something we can covet now." No matter who the body was, it was obviously placed here by someone. If they suddenly intruded into someone else's territory, the owner might get angry and kill them. Kill you rats who steal food. And it might be the same kind of person as the sleeping giant. For example, the body of His Excellency was also very big. His Excellency was cold, and the scariest thing was that he wanted to eat souls. The more Ning Shu thought about it, the more he felt that His Excellency was related to this body. Such a big body, ordinary people really couldn't carry it. Ning Shu subconsciously touched her hair bun. It hadn't come out yet. "Wait a little longer." The Chongsam man said, "If something is wrong, we will leave immediately." "Wait, what?" "If we wait until something is wrong, we won't be able to escape. Wealth comes from danger. That's also something that can be asked for, but we can't." In this situation, Ning Shu felt a little scared. He didn't know if this feeling came from the sleeping corpse, or from other aspects. Anyway, he had a very bad feeling. Looking carefully at the hand of the Chongsam man holding the fan, his knuckles were already white. Obviously he was using a lot of strength. Obviously he also realized that there might be danger, but after a trip and spending a lot of money to buy a spatial passage, he didn't get anything. Ning Shu pursed his lips, and wanted to leave the Chongsam man behind. Are we going or not? The feeling in his heart was getting stronger and stronger, and he felt that danger was getting closer and closer. Some mission takers were still working on the giant's body, but they didn't make any progress, because their strength was too weak to move such a big body. At least a person of this size could cause any destructive damage to this body. Ning Shu couldn't help but want to scratch his head, but when he thought of the bun on his head, he put down his hand. He couldn't scratch the bun loose. Even in a crisis, he couldn't reveal the green on his head. He would rather die than reveal his true colors. Ning Shu glanced around and saw Grand Elder Tai Shu, who was in black, floating not far behind him. He was silent and motionless. Only the corners of his windbreaker moved occasionally. He was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, and the lenses refracted a cold luster. The glasses seemed to have vaporized, and his eyes could not be seen. Ning Shu tugged at the Cheongsam man. The Cheongsam man snapped, "Why are you tugging at me? Men and women shouldn't touch each other. Don't kiss your sister." Ning Shu grabbed the Cheongsam man, afraid that the system would send him back. When the Cheongsam man saw the judge, he was also shocked. He ignored it and teleported away with Ning Shu. When the others saw the movements of Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man, especially when they saw the judge, they were all shocked. They flew everywhere like frightened birds. However, unknowingly, the surrounding space had been controlled and sealed. There was no way to leave at all. Ning Shu's heart collapsed when he heard the system say that he couldn't teleport. She was really just here to watch the show. He didn't know when this person appeared. He was silent and didn't move at all. What's wrong with him? He's just like the class teacher who peeped at the back door. Then he quietly sealed this space, making it impossible for people to escape. Why is this person so bad? He has such a bad taste. Ning Shu kicked the silver-haired man. If he had left earlier, he wouldn't have ended up like this. The Cheongsam man fanned himself a little hurriedly. Obviously, his heart was in a mess. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes, looked at Grand Elder Tai Shu, and then looked at the huge body over there. He guessed that this body couldn't be Grand Elder Tai Shu's, right? But it didn't look like him. Maybe he changed his soul's face to make his style more ghastly. But it might not be Grand Elder Tai Shu. In any case, this seemed to be something that Grand Elder Tai Shu was guarding. In short, this time, he bumped into the muzzle of a gun. He earned 100,000 merit points this time. Whether it was his life or money, Ning Shu couldn't afford it. "Gather here." Grand Elder Tai Shu's voice wasn't loud, but it echoed in this space. His tone was light and didn't fluctuate, but this made people even more afraid. There was no other way. Everyone gathered here. Ning Shu and the silver-haired man went over there. Ning Shu looked at the Cheongsam man with a little resentment. The Cheongsam man touched his nose with his fan and whispered, "I've implicated you this time. Was it useful to say this now? Let's get through this first." After such a thing happened today, the elders who provided the information and the people who wandered in the void world looking for treasures would be unlucky. They definitely had to be reorganized. They would take advantage of the situation and settle down for a period of time. After they rose from the ashes, they would be reorganized again. In fact, the organization didn't allow the huge profits in the void world on the surface, but their attitude in private was ambiguous. Cigarettes and alcohol were harmful to the body, but they were still allowed to be produced and sold. However, they were the most heavily taxed of all industries. This time, the news of selling hit the muzzle of a gun. Grand Elder Tai Shu pointed at Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man. "The law taxes for 100 years. You can go." The Cheongsam man, Ning Shu, was expressionless. 100 years, 100 years, and another 100 years. He was already numb. He was fearless. Ning Shu dragged the Cheongsam man away. When he turned back, he saw Grand Elder Tai Shu holding a gun. The black muzzle was pointed at the mission enforcer. The mission enforcer looked terrified. He seemed to be explaining something, but the other party didn't listen at all. He was killed directly. Nothing was left. He vanished into thin air. Seeing that the souls of the people around them were scattered and even their soul power was taken away, some people looked terrified. They even united to attack the judge. They might survive. However, this was obviously futile. Resistance only made them die more miserably. Something like a fishing net was shot out from the black muzzle and directly wrapped around the mission enforcer. This kind of net would get tighter and tighter. The mission enforcer was wrapped up and cried out in pain. His soul was also forced to curl up into a ball. It became smaller and smaller, and his cries became more and more shrill. Direct obliteration was instant death, but this kind of obliteration was torture. People were afraid of people who could control their own lives. Ning Shu trembled and quickly left with the silver-haired man. He used the silver-haired man system and left directly. In addition to Ning Shu and the silver-haired man, some people were pardoned. However, it was inevitable that they would lose money to avoid disaster. None of the people who touched the corpse could escape. Some of the ice layers were about to be broken through. Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man appeared in the system space. It was the Cheongsam man's system space. As soon as he entered the space, he heard a woman's voice. "Zhu Li, do you fucking want to die? Why are you doing such a dangerous thing? Don't forget that I'm tied to you. If you die, I'm done for." Chapter 2947. Next time, before you do something, can you use your pig brain? Your brain must be filled with trash. Fuck off. Following a mission enforcer like you is such a pain in the ass. Ning Shu was speechless. What a bad-tempered system. And it was a girl. The Cheongsam man sighed. Alright, it's my fault. Didn't I come back alive? Fuck off. The system cursed and stopped talking. Ning Shu pretended not to hear their conversation and looked at the Cheongsam man's system. It was his first time in someone else's system space. The Cheongsam man's system space was decorated in a way that was hard to describe. It was more feminine, with all kinds of cute pillows and small decorations. It felt like only a little girl would like it. To dress up his own system space like that, he was either a trap or gay. Faced with Ning Shu's strange look, the Cheongsam man was helpless and let his system send him to the restaurant. Although the bad-tempered system did not say anything, it still sent the two of them away. The Cheongsam man explained immediately, "That's not my aesthetic, it's the system's arrangement. Every time I change into a tough straight man style, but after completing a mission, it becomes like this again. I tried a few times, but I let her do whatever she wants. I gave up struggling. Although my system has a bad temper, I think she's a little girl. Little girls like these things. So what's wrong with letting her do it?" Ning Shu nodded and said, "You don't have to explain, I understand. What I'm more concerned about now is..." Ning Shu grabbed the Cheongsam man's collar, his face ferocious. "Thanks to you, I won't have to pay taxes for 100 years again. I fucking went to 3 cities and didn't get a single tax." Ning Shu shook the Cheongsam man hard. He had to make the first move. "I was also shocked, scared to death." Ning Shu shook him agitatedly, the bun on his head also shaking. "Your hair is loose," the Cheongsam man said. Ning Shu immediately let go of him and tidied up his hair bun. He looked at the Cheongsam man and said, "Are you happy to be cheeky? You won't have 100 years of taxes left." The Cheongsam man's face trembled a little. It was probably the first time he had been fined, so he couldn't accept it. Unlike Ning Shu, who was already a wily old fox, there was no difference whether it was 300 years or 500 years. In any case, there had been no taxes for a long time. The Cheongsam man's taxes were not a small amount, but Ning Shu's 3 tax cities were not small either. But this money had nothing to do with him. Ning Shu tidied up the meatballs and sat down to drink tea. "Fortunately, we didn't make a move. Otherwise, we would have died. That's the only way I can think of it." The man in the Cheongsam was very upset. His expression was gloomy because he didn't get anything. The man in the Cheongsam said that he was just going to take a look, but in his heart, he was still thinking of getting something. Now that he thought about it, buying the spatial passageway and paying 100 years of taxes was a huge loss. The space passage was a one-way ticket because the location of the space node was determined and connected to the place that could be reached. But ordinary people didn't know where the space node was. They didn't know where the space node was, and even the train didn't know where to go. The man in the Cheongsam was quite rich, but losing the tax made him feel pain for a long time. It was as painful as when Ning Shu was fined 100 years for the first time. But the second and third time, his heart didn't waver. After being depressed for a while, the man in the Cheongsam asked Ning Shu, "What do you think that corpse has to do with the judge? Is the judge guarding that body? Then what's its identity?" Ning Shu drank tea and swallowed. "How would I know?" She guessed that the corpse might be Zheng Qing's. After all, Zheng Qing, who used to be the system lord, was in a soul state. Since it was a soul, what about the body? If that corpse was Zhengqing's, would senior uncle, who came from the same origin, also be so big and ugly? Now, he had just shrunk his figure. Only Excellency was a huge monster. Ning Shu was glad that she didn't pay the fine directly. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to take out the money. Fine the tax, fine the tax. Ning Shu followed along and didn't do anything. She spread her hands and asked the man in the Cheongsam for money. 100,000 merit points. The man in the Cheongsam was speechless. I've also suffered heavy losses now. Who should I ask for it from? Money made people stingy. In the past, she didn't need to care about 100,000 merit points. Now, she couldn't help but care. That's none of my business. Anyway, you have to give me 100,000 merit points. Ning Shu was quite ruthless. The man in the Cheongsam took out 100,000 merit points and waved his hand. I don't want to see you. Ning Shu left quickly. I told you to leave earlier, but you didn't. Corpses are very unlucky. Who told you not to listen to your elders? This was a valuable lesson learned by people who were always unlucky. The man in the Cheongsam rubbed his eyebrows and sighed. He looked like a melancholy handsome man. Ning Shu thought about it and went directly to the alley to find Elder Qi. When Elder Qi saw Ning Shu, he stroked his beard and asked with a smile, "Little girl, what treasure do you want this time?" Ning Shu told him. "You're in big trouble this time." Ning Shu told him everything that had happened before. "You have to be prepared. You'll definitely be punished. If there's any good world in the future, remember to tell me." When Elder Qi heard this, he hurriedly packed up his things and rolled up the package. He ran away like a small merchant who heard that the city government was coming. Before he left, he said to Ning Shu, "I'll give you a discount next time you come." Ning Shu waved goodbye. It was appropriate to do a favor. After fixing the crooked ball, Ning Shu wanted to return to the system space. It wasn't his life to make a fortune. It was better to do missions and get more soul power for the world tree to absorb. Maybe when the world tree grew, it wouldn't stay in his head. The most anxious thing now was the grass in his head. As soon as Elder Qi ran away, the senior grand uncle appeared. Ning Shu bumped into him. The senior grand uncle glanced at the empty stall and frowned at her. Ning Shu greeted him. "You're also here to find Elder Qi." "Elder Qi has already left. When I came, he was already gone." The senior grand uncle said, "I realize that you're a very creative person. You're everywhere." Ning Shu smiled honestly with a pure and innocent expression. "You're joking. I'm not everywhere. The main thing is that you can always see me when I'm picking up trash. This is your illusion." Ning Shu asked, "Have you found Jingqing? He used to be my system. I'm concerned about him." "You want him to be your system? Why do you care so much?" Ning Shu's face suddenly turned green. She immediately waved her hand and made an inviting gesture. "Have a safe trip." The senior grand uncle disappeared in an instant. Ning Shu breathed a sigh of relief. She was frightened and wanted Jingqing to be her system. This ghost story was so scary. She would never ask again. Otherwise, others would misunderstand that she couldn't bear to part with Jingqing. If something happened and Jingqing was given to her again, she wouldn't even know where to cry. /BK Chapter 2948. She checked everything that needed to be checked, such as the enchantments of the 3 law cities. She clicked on the system to exchange for some fasting pills and medicine, and then said to the system, "Go and do the mission." For the first time, there was something that could go with her to do the mission, and that was the world tree above her head. "You are about to be transferred to the world. Please be prepared." The backup system said. During the transfer process, it was not as uncomfortable as before. Her soul was stronger, but her hair was scattered, and her hair slapped her face. The world tree above her head was swaying in the wind. Integrated into a body, Ning Shu opened her eyes, and bubbles came out of her mouth. It was the underwater world. The coral palace was magnificent and magnificent. Looking down at her body, a pink fishtail, a human upper body, and a shell covering her chest. Her seaweed-like hair rippled in the water. It was really beautiful. Ning Shu swung her fishtail. She was used to walking on two legs and was not used to swinging her body with only one fishtail. She practiced her balance while accepting the plot. This world should be more magical. After all, there were even mermaids. As soon as she saw mermaids, she thought of the famous fairy tale, but the plot Ning Shu received was not like that. It could be said that it was poles apart, completely different. And this was a fairy tale. Compared to the innocent and simple stories of children, this story was more adult and dark. All fairy tales were constantly reborn, and in the end, they became different. In the end, the princess and the prince were happily together. The client was the seventh princess. As a favored child, she lived happily in the underwater world. She wandered on the bottom of the sea and climbed up the reef with her sisters when she had nothing to do, singing with a beautiful voice. Everyone who heard it was fascinated, but it made the crew and sailors in the sea particularly afraid. They thought that the mermaid's voice was used to lure humans and then eat them. People yearned for things they did not have, and this princess yearned for life on land. But mermaids had no legs and could not walk on land. Without water for a long time, mermaids could not survive. During a storm, she saved the prince on the ship. The mermaid looked at the handsome prince and sent him ashore. The prince was not unconscious. Seeing the mermaid, she said that in order to repay the mermaid for saving her life, she invited him to her country as a guest. But the little mermaid refused because she didn't have legs and couldn't walk. The two of them exchanged names. Because there was no one around, the prince could only watch as the beauty swam away. He even told the little mermaid Emily that he would always wait for her to come. The mermaid's heart trembled. She swam anxiously in the deep sea and finally went to find the witch at the bottom of the sea. She exchanged her throat and hair for a bottle of potion. Drinking the potion would turn her fishtail into a pair of legs. In fact, the prince and his fiancée were already married and living happily in the castle. Emily was a Spartan, and the prince was with someone else. The guards of the castle found a mermaid wandering around the castle and brought her to the prince. The prince recognized her as a mermaid. He happily locked up the mermaid and let her cry. Her tears fell to the ground and became pearls. Because there was no voice, the mermaid could no longer sing, but when the prince held a banquet, he would let the mermaid show off her beautiful singing voice. But the mermaid was already mute. Since she couldn't sing, she could only dance. Every step the mermaid took was as painful as walking on a knife's edge. Dancing was very painful. The mermaid had no choice but to dance because the prince said that when she couldn't cry anymore, she would be of no use. He would cut her body into pieces and boil them into shark oil. Then the oil would be used to light a lamp, and it could even reach a state where it would never go out. Many witches used this kind of oil lamp, and the scales on the mermaid's body were also valuable. They were the size of a leaf and had a bright luster. The prince loved to collect them, and there were already more than 10 scales of different colors in his collection room. When her sister gave her a dagger and told her to find a way to escape, the prince noticed and took the dagger away from the little mermaid. The next day, the mermaid was finished. With a beautiful wish, she endured the pain and went ashore, but in the end, this was the result. Ning Shu felt that she had entered an extremely dark world. Snow White, who lived next door, had an incestuous relationship with her father. She was caught in bed by her mother and then ran away. She was kissed by the prince and spat out the poisoned apples stuck in her throat. She resolutely abandoned the 7 short and poor dwarves and lived a happy life with the prince. Next door, Sleeping Beauty was cursed into a deep sleep. The prince didn't wake her up by kissing her, but by sexually assaulting her. They even gave birth to a child. When the child suckled, what it absorbed was the finger. The spindle sawdust stuck in the finger was sucked out, and the curse and poison were gone. So Sleeping Beauty woke up. She was quite mature. It was also difficult for a man to control himself when a woman was sleeping in front of him and didn't know anything. The little mermaid Emily's wish was to take revenge on Prince Hickle and protect her sea and kingdom. Mermaids were often fished out because of their beauty. Especially when they cried, they would drop pearls. In this world where pearls were scarce, clams hadn't been cultivated yet. To get pearls, one could only dive into the deep sea. Pearls were also very precious. Their entire body was a treasure, and it was easy for humans to covet them. The little princess thought that the prince was doing something to her, but in fact, the prince was just coaxing her. They were not the same species. In fairy tales, Cinderella, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty were all humans. Emily was more miserable because she had legs, so she was more likely to be violated. The other mermaids that were caught by humans were all fishtails. The beauty of mermaids was already coveted, and this one had legs. Her legs could be spread open, so it was very tempting for men. And the prince's wife, Karina, knew that her husband was having an affair with a mermaid, so she tortured the mermaid even more. Not long after the mermaid died, the king died, and the prince became the new king. After becoming king, he had more power and could collect mermaids and whatnot. After being hunted on a large scale, the mermaids could only stay in the deep sea and didn't dare to swim in the shallow sea. If they weren't careful, they would be caught in a fishing net. Ning Shu gritted his teeth. What a dark story. Since he wanted revenge, he had to kill the prince. After killing the prince, even if he wasn't the king, there wouldn't be a large-scale hunt for mermaids. This was killing two birds with one stone. However, the prince was the only main character in the world, so there were many girls who were paired with him. Chapter 2949. The princes were very busy. They were busy saving princesses everywhere. As for protecting the mermaid clan, this little princess would be the next mermaid king if nothing unexpected happened. Protecting the sea and her clan was her responsibility. It was not long before the storm. This time, the prince fell into the water. Just push him into the sea and drown him. Anyway, it was a storm. It was normal for the prince to die if the boat capsized. After planning the steps of the mission, Ning Shu also relaxed. He shook the fishtail and paddled in the water. Fortunately, he could use the rules. He was very comfortable in the water and did not feel any discomfort. He looked at his fishtail. It was so painful that it turned into a pair of legs. He tore the fishtail apart and under the effect of the potion, it turned into a pair of legs. In fact, it was still a fishtail. The injured and bloody fishtail supported the weight of the body and he still had to walk step by step. How painful! Ning Shu did not want to suffer this. He even became a mute. His thick and beautiful seaweed-like hair was also gone. In the end, he even became a bubble. Ning Shu felt that Emily was a different race. She became the most tragic protagonist in a fairy tale. Others were happy with the prince, but she became a bubble. Humans and demons were different. Ning Shu tried to see if he could cultivate. Mermaids were very fast in the water. Other than that, they did not have any combat power. They were a beautiful race that would not age. Some human noble women would eat mermaids to maintain their beauty. They wanted to be like mermaids, beautiful and youthful. They had many good things on them, but they did not have the strength to match them. The deep sea was their protection, but out of the sea, they were weak and vulnerable. As for magic, it did not exist. Even dragons could be defeated, let alone the weak mermaids. Male mermaids were slightly stronger, but they were not as valuable as female mermaids. Humans captured female mermaids. Ning Shu sat on the coral. Many mermaids swam around him. There were both men and women. The scales on their bodies were of various colors. All of them were very good-looking. None of them were ugly. They held hands in twos and threes as they swam and danced in circles. Their fishtails swayed flexibly, allowing the mermaids to perform difficult movements. "Emily, Emily, where are you?" Someone called out to Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately swam towards the sound wave. "I'm here, sister." "It's time for dinner, Emily. Did you float to the surface again? The elders have warned us that the sea is very dangerous. There are big fish that can eat us. The scariest thing is a human with legs." As his sister nagged, Ning Shu nodded. The meals of the mermaids were all small fish, raw. Everyone had a fish and gnawed on it. Of course, there were also fruits. There were also fruits on the seabed and some plants. How could one describe the taste of the food? It was actually quite delicious. Sitting at the top were the mothers of the mermaids. In fact, The mermaid race was a bit of a matriarchal society. It seemed that the fathers of the mermaid sisters were different. Of course, this was the benefit of the queen. The other mermaids still had to find partners, some for life, some temporarily. The queen looked at Ning Shu lovingly and asked, "Where did you go today?" "I was at the coral reef. I didn't go anywhere. I just watched them dance," Ning Shu said honestly. "There are so many children. I'm only worried about you. You have to remember that humans are very scary creatures. They will catch us." The queen stroked Ning Shu's thick hair. Ning Shu subconsciously wanted to tilt his head so that the world tree on his head would not be gone. But then he realized that he had merged with the world. The world tree would not be on his head. If it was in the past, Emily would definitely refute. Were there no good humans? But now Ning Shu nodded. "Mother, don't worry. I'll remember." The queen was very happy that her daughter was so sensible. She said to her daughters, "You are all adults now. You can find partners." The sisters smiled and talked about what kind of partners they wanted to find. For example, the color of their tails, the color of their hair, and how strong their bodies were. Ning Shu didn't think about finding a partner. He just stared at his tail. How do mermaids mate? What kind of partner does Emily want to find? Queen Ning Shu asked. It depends on fate. You can't just find one. You have to give birth to the best children for the mermaid tribe. I've prepared several strong and handsome men for you. You can see if there's anyone you like. If you like them, you can keep them. A few? Keep them all? Ning Shu expressed that he had seen a lot and was not surprised at all. Looking at the queen's natural look, Ning Shu smiled. Thank you, mother. I'll choose and see. Maybe I don't like anyone. Maybe there's someone I like. The prince was not as handsome as the mermaid, but Emily was amazed by everything on land. When she saw humans, her brain automatically deified them. It had its own filter. Maybe it wasn't a filter. She had seen many handsome and good-looking mermaids in the sea. When she suddenly saw an average-looking human, she felt quite different. The different fireworks exploded in the little princess's heart. The queen suddenly said, I've already chosen a lot of males for you. You can choose and see. Those you choose will be together and love each other. The queen asked her subordinates to call the males up. While her daughters were here, they began to pair up so that they could contribute to the population of the mermaid tribe. Ning Shu, it was the first time he had such an experience, choosing a man. Ning Shu also felt novel. It felt like an ancient concubine selection. But these selected male mermaids were not ashamed at all. There was only a strong joy. It was a good thing to be chosen by the beautiful princesses and have little mermaids with them. Soon, a group of male mermaids filed out, wagging their tails. The color of each fish's tail was unique. It was as gorgeous as a gem. There were dark blue, light blue, black, and silver. There were also colorful ones. In the water, there were no external conditions such as money or cars. Choosing a mate was completely based on feelings. Ning Shu glanced at the male mermaids one by one. As soon as the male mermaids met Ning Shu's eyes, they immediately smiled brightly, hoping to attract Ning Shu's attention. After looking around, Ning Shu felt that everyone was good-looking. If there was an ugly one now, it would be unique. The sisters whispered to each other and discussed. Obviously, they all had their own favorites. Which one does Emily like? One of the sisters asked Ning Shu. Obviously, she wanted to wait for Ning Shu to finish choosing before choosing. As the youngest and most doted princess in the family, the elders and sisters were really good to her. Maybe it was because of the beauty that was so easily available that she began to pursue other feelings. Ning Shu said, Sisters, you choose first. I don't like anyone. Chapter 2950. The sisters began to choose, and after spending some time with the mermaids, or after giving birth to a little mermaid, they could separate and rebuild their relationship. This was all to reproduce as much as possible. The mermaid race had always been in a negative population growth trend. It was not easy to give birth to children, and with the hunting of humans, the number of mermaids had decreased. Each sister chose one, and from the choice of partners, one could see the beauty of these sisters. Some pursued the beauty of the scales, Some pursued the lush hair, and some liked the sturdiness of the body. Some liked handsome faces. Ning Shu did not find a partner. If she did, they would be lovey-dovey and make little mermaids together. In a few days, the prince would pass by this sea of fish. She had to do something, and it was inconvenient to have a mermaid following behind her. She could not let the other mermaids see her kill the prince. After all, she was a kind and pure little mermaid princess. And if the other mermaids knew, they would inevitably be terrified. Killing the human prince would definitely attract the revenge of the humans. At that time, she would become the target of public criticism. So, bad things had to be done secretly. Queen, I want to be with Princess Emily. A mermaid with a dark blue fishtail stepped out and said to the queen. Ning Shu was checking the meridians in her body. The human body was different from the mermaid body, and she mainly wanted to see if there was a dantian. If there was no dantian, there was no way to store energy. Hearing that someone wanted to be with her, she raised her hand and glanced at the male. She did not pay much attention to him, so Ning Shu looked at him again. His face was a little familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen him before. She should not be familiar with any mermaids. He looked familiar, probably because his facial features were softer, not as strong and handsome as the other mermaids. Male mermaids were European-style handsome, and their facial features were well-defined. However, this male mermaid gave off a different feeling. His temperament was good, and his fishtail was dark blue. The reflection of the light was like a sapphire. In the deep sea, this color was the most suitable for mermaids. Even so, Ning Shu still refused. No, I am still young, and I don't want to find a partner. Little princess, if you don't want to find a partner, I can play with you until you want to find one, the male mermaid said. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at him. He looked at Ning Shu openly and blinked his eyes. It was a little electrifying. The queen smiled and said, "Then you can play with the little princess and take good care of her." Ning Shu was speechless. Wasn't she afraid that something would happen if she handed her over to a male so easily? It felt like Her Majesty Queen was hoping for something to happen. The matter was settled. Ning Shu could not refuse, and today's dinner was over. The sisters held their partners' hands and went off to play. God knows what they were doing. The queen smiled and told her daughters to pay attention to their safety and not go to the sea. They could only go to the reef when it was foggy. The fog affected the vision of other creatures, especially humans. Whenever they heard the mermaids sing, it was in foggy weather. It was already terrible to get lost. Now that they heard the mermaids sing, it was even more frightening. Emily, go out and play with him. The queen touched Ning Shu's head and rubbed her hair. Your Highness, please. The male mermaid made a gesture of invitation. Ning Shu had no choice but to shake her tail out of the coral palace. Okay, you can go. You don't have to follow me. She wanted to go back to cultivate and sleep. Moreover, at the bottom of the sea, she could not absorb spiritual energy or the power of the sun. She could not absorb the power of the sun because mermaids lived in the water. Water and fire restrained each other, making it impossible for her to live well in the water. She could either absorb spiritual energy, the essence of the sun and moon, or the power of the stars. In order to absorb these things, Ning Shu had to float to the surface and absorb them. It was inconvenient to have a person following behind her. What she wanted to do was not suitable for the other mermaids to be suspicious. I will protect you. You don't have to care about me. The man said, My name is Lon. Oh, Lon, I'm going to sleep. You can go. Ning Shu returned to the coral palace. Her bed was a huge clam that could open and close. It was very sturdy and could protect the sleeping mermaid. The little princess doesn't like people following her. Is she too antisocial, or do you want to do something? Lon asked. What can I do? Ning Shu looked at him. This Lon had a dark blue tail and blue hair. It was as if he had fallen into a blue dye vat. Previously, she had completely misjudged his temperament. Ning Shu looked at him. The more I look at you, the more familiar you look. I must have seen you somewhere. Ning Shu searched in her heart, searching for a face she had seen before. Which face could match with this face? Of course you have seen me. I would swim in front of the princess when I had nothing to do, But you didn't care. Lan said with a smile. Ning Shu searched the memory of the client, but there was no impression of this person. It was normal for a mermaid to swim in front of them. Who would care? Ning Shu swam into the clam. There was no clam meat inside. The clam was dead. The clam closed, isolating Lan. Lan smiled and swam away. Ning Shu watched Lan swim away from the gap. After a while, she got out of the clam and prepared to swim to the reef to absorb some spiritual energy. The law could be used in this plane, but the suppression was still quite strong. She could use a little bit. After all, this was a world where witches flew everywhere. There were all kinds of strange things. She could still arrange an invisibility boundary. If she didn't sing and was invisible, who could find her? Little princess, where are you going? Ning Shu came out of the clam and swam out of the coral palace. Not long after, she heard Lan's voice behind her. Ning Shu turned to look at him with a blank expression. Didn't you leave? Why did you come back? Could it be that he had been hiding around the coral palace to peep at her? What was wrong with him? Why didn't she feel the strangeness of the water? Lan raised her hand and took out a gem. I found this in the shipwreck. It's for you. The pink gem looks good on you. Ning Shu thought, are you flirting with me? Ning Shu looked at the gem curiously, turning it over and over in her hand. How do you know this is a gem? Humans call this thing a gem. Humans are crazy about it. Lan said. Ning Shu asked, you have seen and talked to humans before. Did they tell you this is a gem? When a mermaid saw a human, it was as if she saw the world and ran away quickly. Chapter 2951. Even the mermaids didn't know that this thing was called a gem. What else can a shiny thing be called if not a gem? Lan looked at Ning Shu. Do you like it? Ning Shu, useless thing, I don't like it. Even if I wanted to use it as a decoration, I couldn't. There were no strings, no holes in the gem, it couldn't be worn on the body, and it took up space in the hand. It wasn't practical at all. Ning Shu looked at Lan, the weird mermaid. The more I look at you, the more familiar you look. We must have met before. Ning Shu rubbed his chin, unable to get rid of the familiar feeling. Lan smiled and said, are you going to the surface? Ning Shu nodded hesitantly. Lan said, I'll take you to a place that's safer and has reefs that will let you sing loudly. Lan led the way in front, and Ning Shu looked at his back, swinging her fishtail, her body meandering. Ning Shu suddenly clapped her hands, and her eyes lit up. She finally remembered who this Lan looked like. The main thing was that the waist-length blue hair was too eye-catching, making his facial features less prominent. He looked very much like the sleeping giant. The giant had black hair, and this mermaid was blue, with a naked upper body and a fishtail lower body. It was really hard to connect the two together. They looked so alike. Little princess? Lan saw that Ning Shu didn't keep up and stopped to look at her. Aren't you going? Ning Shu swung her fishtail and caught up with Lan. Her eyes kept glancing at his face. You don't seem to look like us. How am I different? Lan asked, squinting to hide the emotions in his eyes. We're all mermaids, what's different? You're different, you look different. Lan's appearance was more oriental, with a sharp nose and straight eyebrows. He was a handsome man, but the other mermaids didn't have this kind of feeling. Lan was a reserved beauty, while the other male mermaids were handsome in a sharp and threatening way. Anyway, this Lan was quite in line with Ning Shu's aesthetic. The two fish swam in the sea and soon arrived at a reef. This place was next to a small island, which was relatively desolate. Ning Shu sat on the reef and wiped the water off his face. He basked in the sun and began to absorb the spiritual qi. Fortunately, he had spiritual energy, but the circulation of his meridians wasn't very good. Ning Shu wondered if he should change his cultivation method and use the demonic beast cultivation manual. To a certain extent, mermaids were also considered monsters. It was more suitable for her to cultivate this. Lanan sat beside Ning Shu. The blue scales on his fishtail reflected a bright luster under the sunlight. It was very beautiful. Ning Shu pondered. If that body wasn't senior uncle's, then it was very likely to be Jinqing's. Then this Lan En sitting next to her, who was using his tail to fetch water, could be the official. But just based on his face, how could he arbitrarily determine that he was an official? Moreover, that corpse might not be an official. The most important thing was that the witty and mentally retarded official didn't have such a personality. How could such an arrogant and despicable person do such a thing like picking up gems and fawning over others? When he saw her, he would definitely cackle. "I want to suck your soul dry." But this face was choked in Ning Shu's heart. He couldn't help but make all kinds of guesses and investigations. Ning Shu cultivated while asking Lan En, "How old are you now?" 5 years old. "I'm already an adult." Ning Shu tried to abandon human thinking. Mermaids were 5 years old, so they weren't considered young. And in this world, 1 year was very long. "Have you been to other sea areas before?" Lan En shook his head. "No, it's very dangerous to leave the tribe and run around." Ning Shu used his fingers as a comb to comb his hair while looking at Lan En. This was definitely not Shengqing. If Shengqing was like this, then he must have seen a ghost. Ning Shu decided to test him. He released his spiritual power and attacked the spiritual ball in Lan En's sea of consciousness. If it was just an ordinary creature, his spiritual power wouldn't be very strong. But if it was the soul of a giant in the endless depths, then his spiritual power would be very strong. It might even backfire on him and hurt him. Ning Shu released some spiritual power and attacked Lan En's glabella. But the overwhelming spiritual power directly crushed Ning Shu's spiritual power. Ning Shu snorted and almost bled from his 7 orifices. Blood rushed up to his throat. Ning Shu swallowed the blood. The smell of blood would attract fierce sea hunters. He had already tested that the other party's spiritual power was very strong. He definitely wasn't an ordinary person. Lan En tilted his head and looked at Ning Shu. "What's wrong with you? You look very unhappy." Ning Shu swallowed the blood. "I'm very happy. How can I not be happy?" Lan En nodded. "As long as you're happy." After cultivating for a while, Ning Shu felt a little uncomfortable. He was attacked by the other party's spiritual power. And he still acted like he didn't know anything, as if nothing had happened. "I want to go back," Ning Shu said. Lan En slid down from the reef and stretched out his hand to help Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't let him help him and jumped directly into the sea, splashing the water high. Ning Shu picked some seaweed to eat. Because his body was a little injured, this kind of seaweed was eaten by mermaids when they were sick. "Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Lan En asked when she saw Ning Shu eating the seaweed. Ning Shu didn't want to pay attention to her. Did she really not know, or was she deliberately pretending not to know? "Ning Shu, I just think this is delicious. I like to eat it." Lan En didn't say anything. He sent Ning Shu back to the Coral Palace and stopped at the door to watch Ning Shu go in. Ning Shu didn't intend to invite him in. Lan En, who stayed at the door for a while, swam away. "Where did you go to play with him? Why didn't you let him in?" The queen looked at Ning Shu's belly, as if there was a mermaid cub inside. Ning Shu smiled slightly. "I just went out to wander for a while. I didn't do anything." "You didn't sing and dance together?" the queen asked. Ning Shu: "No, we talked about the stars and the moon, from poetry to life ideals." Ning Shu said helplessly. Compared to her sisters, the queen paid more attention to her. "You should also care about your sisters, okay? Maybe some of them are already pregnant." Ning Shu said that he was tired and wanted to rest, so as to avoid the queen urging him to have a baby. Maybe the little princess wanted to go to the land because the labor was too strong? It's not that she didn't want to have a baby, but she hadn't met anyone who wanted to have a baby with her. Even if a fish and a human had a child, the child would still be a mermaid, just like a mermaid. There was no difference. Ning Shu had to hurry up and cultivate. She was about to pass by and deal with the prince in one fell swoop. As for Lan En, she would deal with him after the mission was completed. As long as he didn't cause trouble for her mission, Ning Shu chose to ignore him. She was afraid that he would follow her wherever she went. Chapter 2952. Ning Shu's life as a mermaid was still very comfortable. She didn't need to work, and when she had nothing to do, she would swim in the sea, and the food she ate would be delivered to her mouth. A life of drunken stupor. It was the kind of life that he yearned for day and night. Only Lan would wander around in front of her and give her some small gifts, such as seafood, pearls, gems, gold coins, and the like, which were all found in sunken ships. There were actually a lot of treasures in the sea, and there was an unknown amount of gold and gems in the ships. Buried in the sea, there was no way for humans to salvage them. Ning Shu was suspicious of Lan, but she didn't show it. When she saw these things, she would put on a fake smile and say that she didn't like it and that she shouldn't give these things in the future. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't like this thing, Lan would change it to something else next time. Ning Shu still said that she didn't like it. After many times, Lan also knew that the little princess really regarded money as dung. So she stopped giving things. Occasionally, Ning Shu would swim out of the sea when it was dark and cultivate until dawn. Lan had always been by Ning Shu's side. Occasionally, she would find something for Ning Shu to eat. Ning Shu couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Did he really treat her as his partner? Probably not. Because of this face, no matter what Lan did, Ning Shu could interpret all kinds of strange meanings in her heart. In short, Ning Shu was quite disgusted by this face. Maybe she subconsciously felt that this guy might be the Lord. So when she faced him, she really felt like she had hairs all over her body. That were uncomfortable. Ning Shu couldn't help but ask, "Why are you always following me? I don't like people following you. Turn around and leave." Quite unruly. "Anyway, I'm an unruly little princess." Lan said, "The queen is by your side to protect you, and we should be considered partners." "That's your wishful thinking." Every time she faced Lan, who didn't look like the Lord at all, Ning Shu began to deny it in her heart. In short, she kept denying, confirming, and denying. Maybe that corpse wasn't the Lord at all, but someone else? He was so conflicted. The weather began to change. As creatures that lived in the ocean, they were generally familiar with the changes in the ocean. In this kind of weather, it was most likely going to rain. With heavy rain, the ocean would be turbulent. A storm was created. Every time this happened, the queen would order all the mermaids to stay in the deep sea. If they swam to the shallow sea, it was very likely that they would be swept to other places by the waves. It was very likely that they would be swept onto land. This was fatal to the mermaids. Not only would they suffer, but they would also implicate the entire race, causing humans to flock to the mermaids. Ever since mermaids were discovered by humans, many people specialized in catching mermaids and even used various methods to lure them from the sea. Many mermaids were captured by humans because of this. The change in weather caused all the mermaids to gather around the coral palace. The queen kept a close eye on Ning Shu. She had Ning Shu sit beside her and wait for the storm to end. Every time he saw the queen like this, Ning Shu felt that he was the queen's biological son and that the others were picked up from the streets. Why wasn't he looking at her sisters? Why was he staring at her? Lan sat not far away, looking at Ning Shu when he had nothing to do. Ning Shu lowered his head and played with his fingers, thinking, "If I don't save him, will the prince die?" But Ning Shu wasn't sure. At this time, he had to see that Prince Hickle drown. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at ease. But the queen was staring at him and definitely wouldn't let him go. He had to find a reason to leave. "Mother, I want to sleep in the mussel," Ning Shu said to the queen. The queen only thought that Ning Shu was afraid, so she told him not to come out of the mussel. Ning Shu slept in the mussel, a little far from the queen. He made an invisibility barrier and ran away, then quickly swam towards the surface of the sea. At this moment, the sea was turbulent, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The rain was very heavy, and a ship was helplessly bobbing up and down with the waves, as if it would sink at any time. The weather was gloomy, and the dark clouds were heavy. It was as if one could reach out and touch it. The usually blue sea was now incomparably black, as if it was the mouth of a monster that could swallow everything at any time. Ning Shu sensed the location of the ship and swam over. "Little princess." Lan's voice sounded behind him. Ning Shu turned around stiffly and saw Lan. Really, I have you everywhere. Will you die if you don't follow me? Will you die? What are you doing? Why are you following me? Ningshu asked. At the same time, he made a decision. Little princess, what are you doing? The stormy weather is too dangerous. I'll go with you, Lanen said. Ningshu refused. No, I'm just going to walk around. How did this guy discover that she had run away? When she ran, she was invisible. How did this guy discover her? The sea was turbulent, each wave higher than the last. The people on the ship panicked and ran around the deck. Their screams and shouts were drowned out by the sound of the waves. Ningshu popped his head out. His snow-white skin looked a little gloomy and scary in the Black Sea, like a ghost. Lan En narrowed his eyes and looked at the panicked people on the ship. Little princess, are you a curious human? Ningshu ignored him. When he saw a wave coming, he quickly sank into the water. A huge wave made the overloaded ship finally sink. The people on the ship were either forced to fall into the water or jumped into the water in panic. Ningshu released his spiritual power and searched for the prince. Silk was wearing an expensive prince's outfit and had a sword at his waist. He was struggling in the water. Ningshu swam over, intending to pull this guy into the deep sea. In order to avoid being seen, Ningshu even turned invisible. He reached out and grabbed Silk's leg and pulled him down. Silk felt something pulling his leg. He saw a blue mermaid swimming towards him. The beautiful color was really unforgettable. The mermaid grabbed his hand and pulled him up. But there was something under his feet that didn't let him float up. He couldn't breathe. His lungs were struggling. He couldn't help but open his mouth to breathe, but bubbles came out. It was very uncomfortable to choke on water. He felt like he was going to die. Before he died, he saw a beautiful mermaid. He was so beautiful. His scales were so beautiful. He had never seen such scales. They were more dazzling than gems. He liked them so much. He wanted to have them. Ningshu was stunned and shouted at Lan En, "What are you doing?" Lan En said, "Princess, you don't need to save him. I'll save him. Also, princess, humans can't live in the water. If you pull him down like this, he'll die." Ningshu was speechless. Which fucking eye of yours saw that I was going to save him? My premonition came true. This guy is really a shit stirrer. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.